Welcome into the Midday Show. I'm Ray Dunn. Brendan Gunn producing the show today. We've got you for the next 4 hours here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Plenty of Eagles camp discussion, where the Phillies go, and we're going to start, though, with that local ball club. And last night, with the Phillies getting the victory over the Mariners 12-7, that's just what that team needed. That team needed last night in more ways than one from a lot of different guys. Obviously, the weekend was what it was. For the Phillies, splitting two in D.C. More so the news with Zach Wheeler and him having the blood clot in his shoulder and then getting the procedure done yesterday. They needed a type of game where they just went out there and dominated and just took apart another postseason team in the Seattle Mariners, and just to kind of relax and let everything kind of roll down the back after the weekend, the road trip that they had. It was a long road trip. Started out great, and obviously by the time we got to the end of that weekend in D.C., all of us had kind of collectively lost our minds about the Phillies. They needed that one in more ways than one, and one of the big ways they needed that one was from starting pitching and from Ranger Suarez specifically. Getting that start out of Suarez has the opportunity to calm some of us down. And I was really interested to see the feedback I got from yesterday's show, because a lot of people were like, Ray, you were just down terribly yesterday. You were in a bad way yesterday with the way you felt about the Phillies. And I thought entirely justified. Zach Wheeler, the idea of potentially not having him for the rest of the season, and we don't know, there still is no timetable following the procedure he had done yesterday to remove that blood clot. We still don't have the time frame for him, but I assume I'm going to operate on the assumption that you're not seeing for the rest of the season, just given how close we are to the postseason and how long you would expect that for him to recover from it. So I was in a bad way yesterday, and I'm still not in a great way today. I'll be honest with you. It was a lot of fun to watch last night's game. I don't want to pour cold water on what was a fun evening at the ballpark. I'm still not in a great place, but I had so many people like, Ray, you really just gave up that easily? Like, you just surrendered that easily with regards to the Phillies. It took one thing, and you just, packed up the ball and walked home, pretty much, with the way you felt about the season. So I'm curious for people after last night, if that was the calming presence you needed from the Phillies, if that was something that made you realize, hey, maybe there is a bigger picture to this, maybe there is still a shot for this team, given the fact that you saw the bats do what they did, and you got a glimpse at the Ranger Suarez that we were promised for the first half of the season and quite frankly have seen for quite a long time here in Philadelphia. I haven't quite gotten there. I do think, though, yesterday we teased out this idea in the 1 o'clock hour, and I want it to really be where you weigh in at 610-632-0975. And I'm going to ask Brendan Gunn a similar question, because Kevin Cooney was sitting here next to me yesterday, and we had a nice back and forth late in the show about basically, Ray, what do you need to see to be back? Like, when we hit September 28th and that final regular season game is played, and maybe we see Nolan Hoffman again for a couple innings, and they just do whatever they need to for game 162, and we come on the air September 29th. Likely we'll be talking about Eagles-Buccaneers. But on top of that, what will we be saying about the postseason? And to me, what I need to see the rest of the way was last night was emblematic of that. That was what I needed to see. Now, I don't expect them to score 12 runs every night, but to get the start that you got from Ranger Suarez, for him to have the velocity back up, and I'm not talking about him throwing mid-90s. I'm just talking about it looking better velocity-wise than it has over the last month. The fact that he was getting swings and misses, the whiff rate was there, the ability to miss barrels, that when he's at his best, those things are the really calling cards of what he does out there on the mound. Seeing all that from him, again, one start. But it makes you start to think, okay, if you could get this Ranger Suarez back, if you can get Ranger Suarez close to the level that it was in the first half of the season, now I have two starting pitchers I feel good about. Well, now you're starting to build a postseason rotation back. And he did that against the Mariners lineup that is absolutely nothing to sneeze at. And from the offensive side of things, you got production from the big money guys. Listen, up and down the lineup, everyone except Bohm had 2 hits in the game yesterday. You look up and down that lineup, what you got, though, specifically from Trey Turner, from Bryce Harper, you can mix in Schwarber in there, mix in Castellanos, guys that you're paying to be the big guys in this lineup. You got production from. And that is basically what you need the rest of the way to feel like they have a shot. Not 12 runs every night, because the fact the Mariners get 7, I think there are a couple pitchers in there that maybe we won't have to worry about taking the mound in many games going forward. The reason the Mariners end up with 7 in that game. But for them to get the production from the big bats and for Ranger Suarez to look more like the Ranger Suarez we've come to expect, that is the first step towards it. I'm curious, though, for us to really sit here September 29th, leading into the postseason, having a conversation about, wow, this team can compete for a World Series. What do you need to see in the next 6 weeks? And you could chime in on that 610-632-0975, because last night was emblematic of what I need to see. I need to see pretty much 2 starters that are not named Christopher Sanchez emerge as steadying presences in this rotation going forward. Now, you could say, right, do you believe in Taijuan yet? Taijuan keeps us up to the end of the season. We might have to have a conversation about that guy in the rotation. We already probably should be having that conversation right now. But I need 2 starting pitchers, maybe Taijuan's one of them, 2 starting pitchers to emerge alongside Sanchez, and I need to see the big money bats show you why they're paid what they're paid. They're a nearly $1 billion lineup. I need to see nearly $1 billion worth of production coming from these guys in the last 6 weeks for me to sign on here in September 29th and say, hey, yeah, that's a team that can go do it. So I took a lot of time to think back to what we were talking about at the 1 o'clock hour yesterday with Kevin of, Ray, you're down horrendous this morning. How do you get yourself back into feeling good about this baseball team? You can't buy all the way back in just because they score a dozen runs one night and Ranger Suarez looks good. But that could be emblematic of what you need to see the rest of the season to feel like, yes, this team might be without Zach Wheeler. We don't have a timeline, but I operated the assumption that he's not coming back this season, because it is just a wildly unrealistic and unfair expectation for me to place on a guy that had a blood clot to say, yeah, you got to be back by the end of the season. So knowing that, what do I need to see from the rest of the guys in this organization? Last night is emblematic of what I need to see from them for me to believe come September 29th. Consistency's been the issue. We're going to see that time and time again. But I'm curious. I set those 2 pillars of what I need from this team the rest of the way to buy back in and think that they're a World Series contender. I really need, and it's those top 3 in the lineup. I know everyone's like, wow, the bottom of the lineup's really producing. It's great. Yeah, it leads to games where you score 12 runs. If some version of what you've gotten from Harper and Turner last night is the version you're getting the rest of the way, I can feel good about that. And later on in the show, I want to dive in specifically to those 2 players and their time together in Philadelphia, and maybe a little bit of a history lesson that would lend to what you need to see from them the rest of the season. But my 2 pillars, 2 starting pitchers that emerge as the steadying presence, and the guys that have about $1 billion committed to them for the duration of their contracts in Philadelphia, produce to the level in which we know they're capable of on a consistent basis. Is it a lot to ask for? Sure, but it's a lot to ask to replace Zach Wheeler. Now, I'm curious. Brendan Gunn producing the show. When you look at what you need to know, because yesterday we got a chance to talk with you about it, but I know my woes over what I felt about the season kind of took over in the way yesterday's show went. What do you need to see to sit here on September 29th looking into a postseason and say, yeah, this team can compete for World Series?
Yeah, I mean, you started with the Ranger thing and you need 2 pitchers. To me, it starts and it ends with the big money bats that you mentioned later on. Even when you had a Zach Wheeler and a Christopher Sanchez in the rotation, and arguably the best rotation in starting baseball, a lot of people weren't all the way bought in on this team. Why? Because the big money bats were not coming through. To me, that's always how they're going to live and die in the postseason. If those guys can come through for a month in a row, you don't need, I don't want to say you don't need a Zach Wheeler. That sounds ridiculous. But if you can go out there and get 6 innings out of your starting pitcher last night, like you did from Ranger, a little bit plus, and then he fell off towards the end of it. If you can go out there and get that, get to the later inning in the bullpen, get a Strom in there, get a Kirkering in there, get Duran in there, you'll be all right if you can put up 6 runs in a postseason game. To me, it is the bats. It's always going to be the bats. Now, can they stay hot for a month in a row? I don't know. One night, 21 hits last night, it feels good, but I don't know if I can see that night in, night out, night in, night out. 1 series, 2 series, yes. Until they do it, right. I don't know if I'm going to believe in it.
Well, that's what we're asking for. We're asking for something. We're projecting out what we need to see, what we need to ask for, what we really want to see with our 2 eyes before we buy into saying that this team can do it, because there was definitely an expectation reset. What happened over the weekend, what we found out with the news with Zach Wheeler, reset the expectation. The only question for me is how I can get back there. And Kevin asked that yesterday. I thought about it a lot yesterday. There were a lot of people that thought that I was over the top yesterday in my doomsdaying of where this team was going.
Do you feel better today? A little bit.
Not really.
No?
No. I mean, I feel better about Ranger Suarez specifically.
Yeah, a
I
little
feel
bit more pep in your step.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm not the type of guy that like watches a 12-7 win and is like, well, what's it going to mean? Like I like to enjoy as it happens, and I enjoyed watching last night. I enjoy watching that version of Ranger Suarez that made him one of my favorite players on this team. I enjoy when Bryce Harper is making people in the second deck have to look out. Like, I enjoy that stuff. Can it get me all the way back in one day? No. But I think that's why there's a little pep in the step today. But I think last night was emblematic of what I need.
In a perfect world, you go into the postseason, you have a Zach Wheeler, you have the best rotation, but the bats aren't hot. Or you go in with a lack of the best rotation in baseball, but the bats are hot. What are you picking out of those two options? The hot bats or the better rotation?
Probably the better rotation.
Okay.
Probably. That's the
fair.
thing is, though, I don't think I have, like, the ability to have that better rotation, I don't think is there. So I guess with this group right now, I would have to go with the hot bats. All right. Coming up, I'm curious for you at 610-632-0975. How do you get those expectations back following the Wheeler news? Because I believe last night's emblematic of how I could get myself back into talking about this team as a contender. And two guys that were, I'll use the word again, emblematic, but emblematic of an offseason that did not bear a lot of fruit. Is one keeping his job and one losing his job? Coming out of last night? Hand up. Might have been a bad call by me. We'll explain next. I'm Ray Dunn, taking through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Philadelphia. we don't have to rely on one person. We can all step up a little bit, and we can all play a little better defense. We can all pitch a little better. We can all hit a little better and play as a team. And I think if we all pick up a little bit of slack, I think we can get the job done.
Trey Turner following the game last night. Turner with a big night. Bryce Harper with a big night. Phillies with the 12-7 win over the Seattle Mariners. I'm Ray Dunn, taking through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Asking you the question. I think last night was a show of what I need to see from this team to buy back in following the Wheeler news. Once Wheeler is no longer available for this team the rest of the way, you start to have to ask the question of where do you reset your expectation? And yesterday we went through a lot of that expectation and through just kind of the doomsday that I continued to feel throughout the day. I got a lot of feedback yesterday like, whoa, Ray, like, I haven't heard you like that. I don't like you like that. That energy that you're bringing was way, way too low on everything. And I thought that was kind of what met the moment yesterday. To me, that was what that weekend of news did to me. Some people are not off the bandwagon. Obviously, the players, team, they're all going to preach. We're together. We're going to figure it out. Turner right there talking about playing a little bit better. The whole idea, everybody's got to play 5% better. If we just all put it together, we could kind of remake the success that we would have with Zach Wheeler. And you can't. You can't replace Zach Wheeler. You can start to play better yourselves. But last night shows you the blueprint here. A consistent Ranger Suarez combined with what you've already gotten from Christopher Sanchez, and in my eyes, one more starting pitcher that is showing you consistent results the rest of the way. Taijuan Walker's been consistent this season. I'm throwing everything at Taijuan Walker. I'm going to need 6 more weeks of feeling good about Taijuan Walker. He's just not a guy that I'm going to right off the bat be like, yeah, I feel great about it.
And you don't need the consistency of Aaron Nola because he is consistent, just consistently bad.
That's a good point. I need better consistency. More consistent in a better way from Aaron Nola. That's a great point. I need a consistently good starting pitcher alongside of Ranger Suarez the rest of the way. Way to clear that one up. You got people like, yeah, Aaron Nola has been consistent, right? That's what you're asking for, right? No, a little different way for Aaron Nola. But that, to me, is my blueprint to buying back in. My blueprint to September 29th, coming on these airwaves saying, all right, folks, postseason baseball, it's getting going. Let's feel good about where this Phillies team could go. That's what I would need from this point forward. And I'm curious for you at 610-632-0975. When you look at the next 6 weeks, I can't sit here and tell you where I think it ends right now because I'm still in that kind of blurry phase of last week we had that conversation of right now if you had to just place your bet on it. I'm still kind of making my way through the haze of what the last few weeks or last few days feels like weeks. In terms of the news that we got from Duran going down Friday night to them getting back to Philadelphia on Monday, it felt like I got 2 months worth of news and time in that 3-game stretch. It was a lot for me to take in.
Quick question for you. The pitchers don't necessarily go out there and let's say you get 5 innings consistently, 4 runs from, I don't know, Nola, Walker, whoever else it is. But the bullpen solidifies itself with the Robertson, with the Kirkering, with the Strom, the Alvarado. You can't depend on. You hope he can finish the season strong, but that has no bearing on the overarching story of the season right now. And then Duran, if that bullpen goes out there and they are consistently shutting teams down, and you're not getting the best starting pitching, but it's serviceable, does that change anything if the bats stay there the way they are, coming back? Bullpen looks a lot better heading into the postseason. Can't necessarily depend on your starting rotation to go out there and win you games, but does that help you at all or no?
It's hard, again, because we look at so much of what we talked all season was their one edge on teams was starting pitching. So if I'm just getting average starting pitching, my average starting pitching versus someone else's average starting pitching, the bullpen I thought was good since you've gotten Duran. Once he got there, I thought now you're in a position where your bullpen is good. Your lineup, the inconsistencies of it, you just kind of need to see a more consistent run. I mentioned coming up probably at 12 o'clock hour, I'm going to dive into specifically 2 big names that had the big games last night and how their stretch since Turner's become a Philly here in 2023, we haven't yet seen it gel in a hot streak the way you would expect. And how maybe that's your key to the next 6 weeks of getting to the postseason and outpacing some of the teams around you. But I also want to be very clear about 2 players because we've talked a lot about DFN guys over the last few weeks. All right, everyone, Everyone likes to play armchair GM. All right, let's just be honest with it. I love it. You love it. Everyone thinks they can build the perfect 26-man roster for this team. I would say I enjoy the whole 40-man roster thing as well. Like, when the whole news comes out, like, they're going to, like, with Wheeler and Nola, like, I am absolutely in a group chat trying to figure out who the 40-man roster move is going to be. Like, I'm a sicko. I'm absolutely insane when it comes to some of this roster maneuvering. One guy that may have kept his job is Max Kepler. Max Kepler, again, over the last, 10 days, pretty much since everything reached the fever pitch for him about being out of here, he has hit the ball hard. He's had some solid hits. He's looked productive. He may have kept his job. Like, we might be creeping into Crawford as a September call-up territory where maybe he's just a pinch runner. It's like, oh, he doesn't have anything left to do in Lehigh Valley. Might as well be up here and just soak it in with a veteran clubhouse. And if he catches anything late in the season, maybe that changes their plans. Kepler probably is eating into, that 2 to 3 times a week playing territory where, when the dust really settles with this outfield, he'll get a game against the righty for Bader. He'll probably get a game against the righty for Castellanos. Maybe he plays one more day a week, but he's earned himself at least the right probably to sit on the bench in October in their minds over the last 10 days. Basically, it was one of those after the deadline. We're going to give him the right to platoon for the next 6 days. He didn't outwardly fail. I think the day that we all screamed about the fact he was in the lineup, he homered against the Orioles, and then since then he's been fine. I don't love it, but I think he's probably kept his job at this point. Now, someone that I thought should have kept their job, that probably is going to keep it just because they're getting paid, but I'm out on. I think I finally run into the Romano end here, B-Gun. I think I'm willing to give this one up to you. I don't really care for Joe Ross, but in the Ross versus Romano thing, it's finally you know what? I'm just going to close my eyes. You make whatever decision you want to make with the two of them on the roster.
The stuff's not stuffing for you anymore.
It does. He should be so much better. And Greg Caserta was on with the morning show, and I love all the work Greg does for MLB Network. Coming up, I'm going to play his explanation for Romano because it's the way I feel. It's the reason I was continuing to campaign on that one. But I'm watching last night, and after the first battery face-off, here comes a home run. I was like, that most predictable thing in the world, isn't it? Coming up, we'll get to the phones. Your question again, what do you need to see to buy back on this team's World Series contender status by the end of this season? Because I thought last night's win was emblematic of it. You get it in 610-632-0975. And that audio from Greg Caserta of MLB Network on with Kincade and Salciunas earlier today. Plus, the conversation I know Kincade Salciunas got into about a man you mentioned in that bullpen who is eligible to return tonight. How will he be received? That's one Jose Alvarado. I'm Ray Dunn. We'll get into that coming up middays, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Everybody hits. Whoa. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. Yes, every player on the Phillies had a hit before the end of the second inning last night on their way to defeating the Seattle Mariners by a score of 12-7. The stars of the show, though, were Trey Turner, who padded his lead for hits in the National League with 4 more last night, and Bryce Harper, who hit 2 monster home runs. Overall, the Phils had 21 hits, the most hits by the team this season in a game. Ranger Suarez was on the mound. He looked a lot better than his past few starts. He went 6 2/3 innings, struck out 10, allowed 2 runs on 4 hits. The Phils and the Mariners run it back again tonight. Christopher Sanchez is on the mound. First pitch is at 6:45. Zach Wheeler officially had a procedure to remove the blood clot in his right shoulder yesterday. There's still no timetable for his return. We're now just 16 days away from the Eagles season opener against the Dallas Cowboys on September 4th. But one question looms large. Who's going to start opposite of Quinyon Mitchell at cornerback? Our very own Birds insider Andrew DeCecco says maybe Adoree Jackson's probably that guy early on, but another could end up being the better option.
I believe that if the Eagles were to play a game tomorrow, it would be Adoree Jackson, just because he's less of a high variance type of player. You can plug him in and you know what you're going to get out of him, but I do believe that Jacorian Bennett is the best of the bunch.
This update was brought to you by Mattress Firm. Need better sleep? Upgrade to a premium bed now and get the rest you deserve at Mattress Firm's best sale of the year. They make sleep easy. I'm Brendan Gunn, and you're listening to the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Philadelphia Sports.
need to you to buy back into contender status for the Phillies in the wake of the Zach Wheeler news? It's the question I'm asking you at 610-632-0975. I'm Ray Dunn, and yesterday a lot of people thought I was down bad, and I was. I just felt I watched the party end. Like, that was really what it was for me. We had the conversation yesterday. Every good party doesn't end when the last person leaves. Doesn't end when the lights come on. The best time that you had, you don't realize that your best time is over until, obviously, it's long been over. Like, you don't, at 2 a.m. when they call, closing time and everything, you got to get out of there. You didn't have your best time at 1:58. No. It's probably somewhere in the 11 o'clock hour. You probably should have been home a long time ago. That's the reality of the world. That's a little bit of, I thought, the reality of yesterday. But last night, I thought the Phillies win was emblematic of what I need to see over the next 6 weeks to buy back that contender status. I'm asking you that at 610-632-0975. Let's go to the phones. Let's go out to Jersey and talk with Alan. Alan, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Good morning, Ray. Good morning.
How are you?
I like you, I have concerns. But before, just one thing about the Eagles.
Sure.
I don't understand. We're counting on Adoree Jackson. Unfortunately, being in Central Jersey, I have to be exposed to the Giants. Adoree Jackson couldn't cover his shadow, and they could not cover anybody. They only have one cornerback, and they got rid of him. So that's a big concern in the draft. They got one fifth-round draft choice. So I'm very concerned about that. But back to the Phillies. Now, they just split a 4-game series with a pitiful Washington national team. And they had Wheeler, and Wheeler's not coming back. We're talking, this is life-threatening. He's got a family. This is not, like you said, he's not coming back. So now, we split 4 games. We led 6-0 against the Nationals on Sunday. It's 6-6. Then it's 11-6. Then it's 11-9, and we have to bring in Duran, who's great. But getting to Duran is going to be the problem. I don't believe in Robertson. Again, Robertson's good against the Pirates or whatever. But when it comes to hitting, like the Mets, we're going to find out a lot. Against the Mets, we got them 3 games.
Alan, I understand what you're saying. But you also, like last night, Gilbert's not exactly a bad pitcher. Like, you were able to hit last night, and it's a 1-game sample size. I understand your concerns, but I think you do have to look a little bit, give a little bit of the credit to what they were able to accomplish last night against a good pitcher.
But they've lost 4 out of 5, Seattle. Their pitching has gone down, and it's like, if you look at baseball as a whole, like the Dodgers, they just swept San Diego. They lose to the Rockies. They're very sinusoidal. The entire, it's who gets hot at the right time. Now, the Brewers are the only one that have been the most consistent. But again,
are they
the Brewers' track record?
Yeah, are they hot at the wrong time? And that's that's a question there, Alan. And I appreciate the phone call. I mean, I think for a lot of people right now that don't believe in the Brewers, they're saying, well, they're hot right now because, and is that going to translate for them come October? The whole idea of, have you already peaked? Have you peaked too early? I mean, that's a good baseball team. I've quietly begun to, I don't know if it's convince myself or try and find the similarities of the Kepler Giants. That 2021 Giants team that just everyone all of a sudden had a career year and they were just rolling and they won 100 games. Maybe that's a little bit of me trying to poke holes in a team that just is a lot of fun right now for baseball and has been really good. But that's kind of where I go. And it's funny, Alan brings up the Eagles at the start of his call, Adoree Jackson, that second cornerback room. Coming up bottom of the hour, we are going to get into some of the camp news and notes because that outside corner position, one of the things they're trying is something that we've all been, I feel like I haven't found the advocate for it. I've only heard the advocating against it for the idea they went with yesterday, and ultimately, I don't think it's going to be that big as we relate to Cooper DeJean in that second cornerback spot. But he mentions Adoree Jackson. You forget, or for maybe an audience that does not know me as well, that hello, nice to see you, nice to talk to you. My mom is a Giants fan. So he mentions being close to Giants fans. I understand the annoyance you have of watching Adoree Jackson. I've seen it up close and personal. I've heard the annoyance of watching out there, the second corner spot. As DeCecco called him, he's a floor guy. They know what the floor of having him out there is. They're hoping that someone provides upside that he doesn't. So the concern is certainly there with what he mentions with the corners. And the concerns he mentions about the Phillies are absolutely true. I mean, you feel them when you watch this team. But he brought up Sunday. Nola giving up a 6-run lead, concerning. Max Lazar forcing your closer to come into the game, not exactly the same concern. Like, anyone that watched last night was like, wow, that got closer than it needed to be at the end. It's like, well, Nolan Hoffman, cool for you to be out there. Do I assume that you're going to be making any more appearances for this team in critical situations? And it wasn't a critical situation last night. I do think, part of me, like, I wanted to come in today a little bit with, like, the satirical Romano take, that Romano was actually trying to do the fans a favor because he thought he was going to let them all see Duran. I thought that's what he was trying to be nice. He was trying to let it become a safe situation so the fans would get to see Duran. He saw the way they all want to watch him. I can't bring myself to that satirical take. But in mentioning Romano, Greg Caserta from MLB Network was on with Kincade and Salciunas earlier today and kind of laid out a little bit of the line of thinking that I think I've had with him and the reason why I am just too toxic to quit this idea.
He was supposed to be the setup guy probably, or maybe the closer. He and Alvarado would kind of have a dual role. Clearly that has changed because of his inability to get outs and because of Alvarado not being on the field. But I think watching the game as closely as I do, and it's more about the state of the game than it is what the Phillies look at with Romano, but they look at that brief run that he had this year when he shook off that rough first 4 or 5 weeks, and he actually did settle in at one point. I think they look at a sample size like that, an extended sample size, and they say, that's the guy that when he's going right, that's what he can be. So I think that's something like Devin Williams with the Yankees. It's the same thing. Why does he keep going out there in these late inning spots? Well, because they look at what he did for a very brief stretch, and maybe it was consistent over 10, 11, 12 appearances, and they say, yeah, that's what we've got in the tank. Now, it hasn't been there enough, but they feel that that's what is in there. So they're looking at it and saying, all right, let's get him out there in a mop-up role. Let's get him to build his confidence up, and then maybe if he gets going leading into the playoffs, now we have him again as more of the viable weapon that we envision for him.
And the line of thinking that he has right there is exactly what's had me not ready to quit, not ready to pull the plug on this whole thing. Yet watching him last night, lets the runner get on, and it's like, all right, the hell with this. He's about to give up a home run. Like, here it comes. Here comes the big hit. If it's not a home run, that thing's going off the top of the wall, and at least a run or two are coming in to score. Like, it was too predictable for me last night. That's what it was. And when it gets to that point, when I'm sitting there like, I know how this movie's going to end, maybe I got to stop trying to talk myself into something else. But I go back to that stretch, the Romano Revival Tour. Remember that time of our lives? 21 appearances. We had a 2.79 ERA. From the end of April to the end of June, man. I thought we had something. I thought we were building something here, man. How could you abandon me? Jordan Romano, I'm pleading with you. Figure it out. We'll get into more of the Phillies, your conversation on what you need to see to buy back into contender status with this team in the last 6 weeks of the season. Plus, Alvarado can return from suspension tonight. No official move yet. You know me, roster nerd. Very intrigued to see the way this goes. I'm assuming Hoffman goes down and Alvarado's back. But how now do you think this fan base will receive Alvarado the first time he goes out there? And how will you receive Alvarado the first time he goes out there? He's Brendan Gunn. I'm Ray Dunn. Take it through middays, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The summer.
buyback point, where they can get to with this team being a World Series contender, and some of their concerns. But you just put something on the board in front of me that I really need to dive into for a second. We're going to get back to the phones here in a second at 610-632-0975. You also can text in at that number and give me the first text of the show today.
We got David checking in here saying, I'm giving Alvarado a standing ovation considering how bad the rest of this bullpen has been. We need to fire Jordan Romano into space.
Wow. No. Stop it. Stop it. Please. I'm begging you. We don't need I actually have in my notes Turner standing ovation for later today. Okay? I do. Because it has to do with him and Harper and their ability to carry the team together. And the last time we saw them both get truly scorching at the same time. And we're going to get into that stretch later on in the show. So the fact that now we have two mentions of the standing ovation is at least one too many for today's show. And no, I'm not giving Alvarado a standing ovation. Because the rest of the bullpen doesn't stink. Okay, Jordan Romano might, but the rest of them, what? Jordan Romano, Joe Ross? Other than that, Banks been good this season. Strom hasn't as good as he was, but Strom is still a good pitcher. Kerkering, I told you, it's one of those guys that the first sweeper I see, I know exactly how the outing's going to go for him. I'm sorry. Duran going to be someone that we say stinks? Like, let's... The bullpen did stink at one point. It does not stink right now. We're not giving a standing O on that basis. How are you going to receive him the first time you see him, Brandon Gunn?
If I was there, I'd probably, egg people on to boo him. I'm not a booer, but it's like, dude, come on. You let us down this year. Now, a couple of things have gotten in the way where it appears it's not the biggest loss as it looked like back in April. It's still a humongous loss, but other things have, come to a fork in the road and gone the wrong way for the Phils right now as we sit right now. But Alvarado, it's like, you're going to need him, so I don't necessarily want him to get booed and become a head case. We've seen him become a head case out there on the mound in the past. If that's going to make him go out there and stink, I don't want to play that game. Do I think he deserves a little bit of, a murmur of boos in the background? Probably, yeah, but I would sit there and just watch.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm just overtly cheering, but I definitely am going to feel more relieved to see him back out there than anything else. I know, obviously, he's put them in a precarious spot. I don't think he's served his punishment yet. His punishment will be more when he has to watch this team and not be a part of the postseason. That's me. The 80 games without pay, that's tough. I get, money-wise, and just, I think you could see the way this impacted him with just how abrupt he was gone and, trying to talk when he got back about everything. I am interested, though, because I think this town, a lot of people will tell you, and, I'm probably not of the age to give the full breakdown of this, about how the town's changed and how the perception and how people have changed. I think right now we are more, maybe this is more of a social media thing than actually in practice of the people who are at the ballpark, more of a pick you up type group for situations like this. Like, I think in this specific situation, I wouldn't be surprised if people cheer as he comes back to the mound. Like, I don't know. I heard the morning crew talking about it. I heard Greg Caserta chime in on it. I hear you say what you're saying about, boos coming across. I don't know if that's how he's going to be perceived. You are justifiably mad at him for what happened, and mad at the fact that him not being on the postseason roster hurts his team's chances of doing something. But on that same token, the last 6 weeks of the season, he's going to be a part of your bullpen. He's going to be an important piece of the bullpen because of what he has been in the past and what you can always use another guy that throws the way he does. I know there were people that didn't like him before. Now definitely don't like him. But I think he had enough fans here where I think it ends up being kind of one of those pick him up situations. Like, he has to be here. We need him here. I'm not calling for a standing O, but I don't know if it's going to be as negative of a discourse as I think a lot of people imagine.
Yeah, and I also wondered the time that he's coming back right now with the whole Wheeler news. A lot of people are kind of like you were yesterday, where it's like, oh man, the season may be cooked a little bit as far as winning the World Series. A lot of people just might have lost that energy to be bought into boo him either way. You're going to need that guy to go out there and perform. You're going to have to throw him into the ground the rest of the way. So I'm not going to boo him because I can't risk him going out there and being like, what the hell? We've seen him be, he can get flustered out there.
Yeah, I'm not so sure I think it's going to be boos. mean, I'm certainly not calling for, again, the standing ovation we got from that texter, but this kind of feels like one of those pick 'em up situations. And maybe that's just me with the glass half full approach to life and the, positivity wins the day type mentality. But
yeah, and the last we saw of Alvarado, other than the getting suspended for the PEDs or whatnot, was him with the kid and the kid in the crowd, mimicking him. Like that was a good feel good story. I don't know if people remember that as a feel good thing or him letting that kid down at this point. So maybe that'll play into it. I don't know who remembers that at this point, if it's just us everyday people who watch them every single day. But I don't know. I think there's going to be a spattering of boos. I do. I don't think it's going to be overwhelming, but I think you'll be able to pick it up a little bit.
There might be. And I'm curious for you at 610-632-0975. How will you receive Jose Alvarado the first time he goes out there? When we get back, we will hit the phone lines. Also, a couple of notes from the world of the NFL that have already happened. I need to make sure. The NFL Notes at noon is still happening, but I just got a flurry of tweets from Eagles camp. I got a tweet about a new starting quarterback in the NFL. A lot happening. So we're going to hit the phones coming up in the next segment. We have Dr. Matt Elf. And I am very intrigued to see how he feels today because he was alongside me yesterday and just kind of the misery of the news. And someone that believes the Phillies are going to go all the way. I said I needed it yesterday. Someone to kind of talk me back. No one took me up on it. Maybe he will. He's Brendan Gunn. I'm Ray Dunn. Take you through the midday show here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
A season high in hits. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. Every single player on the Phillies had a hit before the end of the second inning last night on their way to defeating the Seattle Mariners by a score of 12-7. The stars of the show were Trey Turner, who padded his lead for hits in the National League with 4 more last night, and Bryce Harper, who hit 2 monster home runs. Overall, the Phils had 21 hits for the game, the most by the team in a single game this season. Ranger Suarez was on the mound, and he looked better than his last few starts. He went 6 2/3 innings. He struck out 10, allowed 2 runs on 4 hits. The Phils run it back against the Mariners tonight. Christopher Sanchez is on the mound. First pitch is tonight at 6:45. Zach Wheeler officially had a procedure to remove the blood clot in his right shoulder yesterday. There's still no timetable for his return quite yet. We're now just 16 days away from the Eagles season opener on September 4th against the Dallas Cowboys, but one question looms large. Who's going to start opposite of Quinyon Mitchell at cornerback? Our very own Birds insider, Andrew DeCecco, says maybe Adoree Jackson will be that guy early on, but could be end up being another guy that is better there.
I believe that if the Eagles were to play a game tomorrow, it would be Adoree Jackson, just because he's less of a high variance type of player. You can plug him in and you know what you're going to get out of him. But I do believe that Jacorian Bennett is the best of the bunch.
This update was brought to you by Aleve. Traffic and body pain can slow you down, but don't let pain stop you with just one pill. Aleve provides up to 12 hours of pain relief so you can keep moving. Use as directed. I'm Brendan Gunn, and you're listening to the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
the Midday Show. I'm Ray Dunn. Brendan Gunn producing the show. You're tuned in to WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. Coming up in 3 hours. It's unfiltered. The only reason I promote that right now is because Bill Colarulo is already here. I just try and walk out for a break in the first hour of my program, and I'm already being suffocated with the presence of the program following us in 3 hours. So great to see Billy C, I guess. And I want to dive quickly into some football, not because I ran into Billy C, but we're going to get back to the phone lines on the Phillies in a second here. But kind of carnage at camp right now for the Birds. A tough morning. We found out Jordan Mailata out of practice because of a concussion. And since practice began, which practice isn't even an hour into the session at this point, and it's not like that's a very long session. It's not like they're practicing for hours on end, but we're not even an hour into when practice was scheduled to start, and Drew Makuba went into the tent, and Johnny Wilson was down. Now, Wilson obviously was the subject of our segment last week where we played the 15 different cuts of quarterback, head coach, offensive coordinator, talk about how much they love him and how much they appreciate him. Had the big catch in the first preseason game, one of the guys fighting for those end wide receiver spots, so he's down. Drew Makuba had the best game of anyone on the field on Saturday in an Eagles uniform. The pick six, recovering the fumble, probably put himself in the driver's seat for that safety job after missing 2 weeks with a shoulder. And now, I believe it was a hamstring they were saying in practice, he's in the tent. So potentially you're starting safety down. Your starting left tackle is concussed. A.J. Brown's not out there again. 16 days to the start of the season, folks.
Left guard also already had a procedure done. So that's your whole left side of the offensive line.
Yep. Oof. Not great. Not great. I guess, like I said in the last segment, the glass half full guy in me, dealing with it now, dealing with it later. You know, you could be a little bit more cautious with Makuba the rest of the way. I mean, I there's no really bright side for me on the Mailata thing. Like, that's just, hopefully it's, he's able to deal with it and is back out there by the time things get going in 16 days. But Johnny Wilson now being carted inside, the latest tweet I'm seeing. So, a little much in terms of the practice today. A little bit of a heavy stuff for the Eagles, dealing with some injuries.
Yeah, all those Brian Windhorst moments. Like, why did the Eagles trade for a wide receiver when they already have a room full? Maybe all those finger pointer things aren't going to pan out anyway, because you might just need Mechie on the team.
Stop it. Stop it. Don't start with the conspiracy theories. So, but this is your three wide receivers on the field with the first team offense. Jahan Dotson, Anais Smith, and Darius Cooper. Devontae Smith also not practicing today for some reason. So, got a lot of good work in there. And Adoree Jackson running with the ones. So, it is looking like it's going to be Adoree Jackson, despite the fact that Allen in Jersey says that he can't cover his gap. So, let's go back to the phone lines. We asked you the question, what would it take for you to reach the buyback point on the Phillies as World Series contenders? Because I think last night was emblematic of what you need to see. You can get on that 610-632-0975. Here's Greg in Bethlehem. Greg, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Morning, gentlemen. Last night I thought was, for me anyway, the most important Ranger start of the season. I thought he, the door was closing when Wheeler had his issue, and but I think, Ranger did what he could do last night to put his foot in the door to keep it from closing. If we didn't have to deal with Romano, the offense looked great. I think, for whatever reason, our lineup is very momentum-oriented, and when you get everybody involved like that, that's a feeling you can carry on through the rest of the season, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's I mean, those are the two pillars that we're talking about right now, and what would lead to me buying back by the end of September and saying, yeah, okay, this team can compete for a World Series, is getting Ranger and another starter kind of up to that more consistently good level of pitching, not just consistent, because I pointed out to me earlier by one Brendan Gunn that you could be consistently bad. So consistently good would be what you look for, and then those bats.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I couldn't have asked for a better game except for Romano, and I'm hoping we don't see much more of him. How much of a lead do we need to put him in? It's getting ridiculous.
It is getting ridiculous. And Greg, I appreciate the phone call. Yeah, it's getting ridiculous. All right, listen, we played the Caserta clip earlier in the show. I gave you the numbers from the end of April to the end of June over a 21 appearance stretch where he had a sub-3 ERA. And you know what? At that time, I was like, the Romano Revival Tour, we're on fire. We were coming to a city near you. I was excited for the fact that he was going to figure it out. Things were going to be all right. That has not happened. And every time his ERA starts to creep being close to just 6 on the dot, he's like, nope. I'll give up 3 runs here, a couple runs there. Yeah, they're not going to pitch him in a leverage spot.
I cannot hear about April to June anymore. You know what was happening in April to June? These kids that are moving into their dorm weeks this week and next week were back in high school stressing over finals. It's months ago. It's 3 months ago. It's a quarter of the year gone at this point. Take the stuff and stuff it where the sun don't shine because it's not coming back. He's useless. Like, literally. And I throw that word around in hyperbole all the time. Romano actually may be useless in any kind of situation that matters. He can eat an inning here or there the rest of the way, but close game, no way in hell. I'd rather have Joe Ross out there.
All right. Deep breaths, because it doesn't sound like you're breathing in there. It sounds like you are running out of breath because you're so upset. So calm down for a second. Last night, was he put into a situation where it was a close game? No. He just made it a close game, all right? That's all. He was doing a service. He wanted the TV ratings to stay up. He wanted Duran to come into the game. He was doing a service to you, okay? That's what that was about. But in all seriousness, yes, you're right. At this point, if you're trusting him in a close game, I'm going to lose my mind too.
Yeah, I mean, dude,
So the flip side of this is it Seth Johnson time? Is it Ron Held time? Is it who else on the 40? They signed Lou Trevino, Monco legend, Lou Trevino. You want to see him try and get on the 40? There's always another arm in AAA. Is there another arm in AAA that has the upside of what he could be?
What is the upside? The guy
we saw the upside for 2 months.
The guy is pushing the season record for ERA and appearances, dude.
Bad.
It can't be.
It's very, very bad. I get it.
It can't be worse.
If they got rid of him tomorrow, I'm not going to shed a tear. Okay. I'm just saying the reason he's still on the roster and the situations they're using him are not entirely egregious. It does make me livid. Okay, last night, lets the runner on. I'm like, all right, here comes a cookie. This is going to be bad. I can feel it. I don't know where's the Stephen A. drop when I need it. I mean, this is bad. This is very, very bad. I'm not telling you that I'm enjoying watching him pitch. I'm just saying that the Caserta clip earlier where it explains that they're looking for the upside of what he had for 2 months. That's why he's still here, is the reason that I've been okay with them keeping him for this long. I'm also starting to reach my breaking point, which should tell you something about where we're at in the Jordan Romano experience.
At what point is it just all right, this is not coming back? I saw it, 3 months ago. 3 months ago, dude, it was 60 degrees in April. We're still waiting for the summer. Summer has come and gone. We now have, we went from the land of paradise with the birds to now very real concerns. That's how long it's been since Romano was actually good. Not great. Good. He didn't even show great stuff. He showed good stuff. At some point, you got to move on because he's not going to be used in any situation in the postseason. I don't care if you have a 12-run lead. Postseason, every single out matters. I can't put him in there.
I do think if last night was a postseason game, Ranger does not go back out there for the 7th, and you probably go Robertson, Kirkering. By the time you get to a 7-1, you're not blown, the closer, probably Banks out close out. I mean, depending on the way the batters line up in that, but you are probably seeing leverage guys despite the fact you have a 6-run lead. Even in a postseason game, I doubt Romano was making his trek out there. If he did, feel free. All right, let's all lose our minds. Lose your mind over Romano. Dawood in the YouTube chat. I'd rather Ray Romano come in the 7th. Honestly, for entertainment purposes, I'm in. I'm in to see it. All right, let's go to North Philly, talk with Charles. Charles, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Charles?
Not putting me on.
All right.
Hello?
Oh, you're there, Charles. We got you. You're on the air.
Hey, Ray, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Ray, how you doing?
Good.
Good, Ray. Ray, don't blow a gasket over Romano. He's not going to be on the postseason roster. We all know that. He's not going to be on the post. He's just a body we need. Listen, was I going nuts when they made it 7-4 last night? Of course. But the thing is, he's not going to be on the postseason roster. All right? Your question is, what do I need to see to believe in this team? I don't need to see anything, Ray. I believe in this Phillies team. I picked them before the year to win the World Series, and I'm still picking them to win the World Series. And here's why. I don't need a 12-7 win over an above-average Mariners team. Listen, it was great. Bryce hit 2 440-foot bombs. The Phillies did what they do. But I believe in a team that's played to a near 600 winning percentage this year. I believe in a team that's in the second most series in all baseball. I believe in this pitching staff. Listen, Wheeler is a blow. There's no question about that. But the fact is, this starting rotation is still better than the rotation that the Dodgers won the World Series with last year. And the bullpen's better than the pen the Dodgers had last year. And I'll take this lineup against any team in baseball, right? Here's the fact of the matter. Do I believe, come October, can we beat our rivals, whether it be Milwaukee, the Dodgers, San Diego, or the Cubs? Yes, I do. Notice I didn't put the Mets in there because the Mets aren't a rival because they're not in the Phillies league. But the fact is, Ray, I believe in this team. I believe in the team that's been to the playoffs 3 years in a row. Should have been to the World Series 2 years in a row. I believe when the lights come on, I know Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber are going to get it done. I believe in Christopher Sanchez, who's a Cy Young candidate. I believe in Ranger. I believe in the rest of our starting staff, even though I think Noah will get it together. I believe in this team. And I don't necessarily believe in a Milwaukee team. Listen, Milwaukee's had a great year, but you put the Phillies against Milwaukee in a playoff series, who do I take to win that series? I think I'm taking the Phillies to win the series, right? So you ask me, I believe in this team, right? And I think you should too. And don't go listen, this isn't football. This isn't the Eagles. This is baseball. Listen, people go nuts when they lose 2 out of 4 to Washington. Who cares? It's baseball. You're going to lose games. But do I believe this team, when the lights come on in October, it's going to be the best team in baseball and be holding the trophy at the end? Yeah, I do. I believe that.
World champions!
I mean, Charles right there, it's kind of the mic drop of why you should believe. I was waiting for him to do the I believe.
I believe that.
I believe that. Like, that's where I thought that quote was going with it. But he raises some really good points about, like, where this team is at. The flip side to I believe that Schwarber and Harper are going to show up when the lights are brightest is there's 7 other guys in that lineup, and for a while here we've debated on whether or not they're consistent enough to get there. He also brings up the Dodgers in there. He mentioned the pitching. What he didn't mention was the Hall of Fame level lineup that they have, especially that top of that lineup that really produced a tremendous amount for them. When you look at also, they had Edman going, like they had a number of guys step up across the board for them in that run a season ago. There's reason to believe they could compete in the National League. Losing Zach Wheeler was what brought me down. He doesn't need a buyback point. You heard Charles. And Charles kind of represents the people yesterday who were like, Ray, what's your problem? I'm curious if that's where more of the fan base is at, and we just don't hear from that part of the fan base. You can get in at 610-632-0975. We got some news and notes from around the world of Eagles camp. The reason why I'm all in on Kevin Petula. It has very little to do with football. That and the Athletic are coming out with the NFL's 25 under 25. 2 Eagles make the list. Can you guess them? And should have there been a third? We'll dive into all that football coming up. We're still getting to the Phillies. This is the Midday Show on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Do you
News, even though it's one of those, I thought he was already done type things.
What happened?
He's Brendan Gunn. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through the midday show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. And we got news at the NBA world. John Wall retiring from basketball.
Dude, the John Wall. He didn't retire yet, though?
That's what I mean. I thought for sure he had been done. But now it's official.
I'll pour one out, do the dance for him one last time.
Yeah. I don't think you need. No, you don't need to do it anymore. It's all right. You look like a guy that did it when it was cool and now are doing it years later. And
I'll go toss on those Nike Elite socks from back in the day with the line up the side in honor of John Wall.
Absolutely.
Could have been ours, but we got,
It's okay. No need to relive old bad memories here. But John Wall officially retired. I file him under the Jimmy Graham list of guys that I thought had just been done. Like Jimmy Graham called it a career this offseason. Could have told me that happened 2 years ago. I would have been like, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, John Wall, I mean, he's kind of up there where, I thought he could have been so much better than he ended up being in the NBA, but he got hurt. It's kind of like Derrick Rose-ish.
John Wall might be one of the all-time teammates in the sense that so many guys made money off the Wizards that would have not made money otherwise because he was there.
Oh, yeah.
Bradley Beal, rich. Thank you, John Wall. Otto Porter Jr., rich. Thank you, John Wall. I think there was one more guy from that team. I forget who else got a big payday. And it's like, yeah, you're good, but that money good? I guess that money also in the NBA at this point, maybe it doesn't say as much as it did, but that is the news of the morning here, that he is retiring. Now, I mentioned some news and notes from camp. We opened up the 11 o'clock hour just talking about how so many people either hurt, not practicing, or got hurt at practice. A.J. Brown not practicing again. Devontae Smith not practicing. We don't know why for Smith. I haven't seen yet an explanation on that. A.J. Brown, the hamstring, still not practicing. Not yet concerned over that. They're taking their time with him. He's definitely not going to play Friday, so why rush him? 16 days to go till the season. Mailata now with the concussion. Drew Makuba grabbing at his hamstring, going to the tent. And Johnny Wilson carted inside at practice. So just a number of guys going down. Something from yesterday. Cooper DeJean, outside corner, base defense. We're starting to flirt with the idea. I can feel it. Nobody's taken over this role yet, that we're starting to flirt with it. We're not fully there. I don't think they're going to commit to him actually doing it unless it comes to an emergency. But it shows you just how much they need someone to step up at that second corner spot. Today, Adoree Jackson taking the first team reps over there at that corner spot opposite of Quinyon Mitchell. We cannot do the Cooper DeJean outside corner experience, nor the safety experience, which now Cooper going down and the uncertainty at cornerback 2, I start to get worried that the usage of Cooper DeJean, again, is going to be at a place that leaves a hole in that slot corner spot for this defense where he was so good a season ago. I don't want to mess with him because no one else is emerging on this defense right now.
You put him outside, you can't stretch him too thin. You're using him at safety. You're using him inside. I know now that you probably had a little bit more faith out of what Drew Makuba did at safety in that game on Saturday. You're like, okay, maybe we don't have to put him in base at safety. We can move him outside there. You can't expect the guy to be Superman. I think he's great. I think he's going to be great here for a long time, but let him do a job and do it consistently. And if you want to use him outside at some point or safety at some point, fine, but don't cross-train him in 3 different areas in one preseason and a second season in the NFL. I think it's asking a little bit too much right now. I could be wrong, but I think it's asking too much.
I don't know if you can ask too much of him. I think it's just you're going to put unnecessary stress on guys who are not as good as him. Okay, whoever goes into that slot corner spot, well, you're not Cooper DeJean. Or, if he has to go play safety now, who's over? It just shows you more where this defense is at as compared to, hurting DeJean himself.
Yeah, I also think safety and the corner nickel spot is kind of their similar traits. You're in the box sometimes, you're getting matched up against tight ends sometimes. It's a lot different than being put on the outside on an island. If you wanted to cross-train him, I think safety was the right move, and that's what they were doing. Now they're kind of getting their hands forced towards the other side, but somebody has to step up outside. Somebody, please.
Now,
I'm begging you.
Cooper DeJean is a part of the subject that I mentioned with the Athletics 25 under 25, an NFL list of the 25 best players under 25 years old that we're going to get to because I also want to try and work through who in the Eagles will be on this list come next year. Also, who are the top 5 right now in that young defense and young team under 25 for this team, because you start going through the ages and you remember just how well built this team is for the future. But I have to give credit where credit is due to an offensive coordinator that deserves it. Kevin Patullo, someone from the Nick Sirianni coaching tree, today was 8 minutes early to his presser. And if you are new around here, hello. Welcome to The Fanatic. Welcome to the Midday Show, and welcome to the Ray Dunn Experience. There is one thing that drives me crazy, day in and day out. Brendan Gunn's laughing because he knows exactly what it is. The people in the back right now, I can guarantee you, are laughing because they know exactly what drives me nuts. It is the consistent lack of respect for our breaks, for our timing here on this radio station when we play these pressers. Nick Sirianni is notoriously late for his pressers. Kevin Patullo, a little too early today, I'll be honest with you, but showing a willingness to be prompt, to be on time, to show respect for what we do here at this radio station. His presser starting 8 minutes early today. I just wanted a tip of the cap to the offensive coordinator because he is just like Nick Sirianni, except for that one thing. And I appreciate that about you. Continue to be early, because if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're probably a little late. And if you're late, you're Nick Sirianni, and you make me livid every time we try and run one of these pressers. Shout out today to Kevin Patullo. You now have my full supportive confidence going at least until the end of September.
I want to know how the morning show feels about it. 8 minutes early? They kind of threw them for a loop.
Probably, yeah. I don't like tardiness, all right? I like being on time. And you know what? Today, Kevin Patullo, you earned a fan in me, all right? The offense doesn't look good the first month of the season. Those are good players. They got to figure it out, all right? That's what we're saying now. That's now the mantra going forward. Shout out to Kevin Patullo, man. We got the Athletics 25 under 25 coming up. Which Eagles made it? Which Eagles didn't? And who should we expect to see there next year on that list? More Phillies coming your way at the bottom of the hour. He's Brendan Gunn. I'm Ray Dunn. Take it through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
A big game from the Bats. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. Every single player on the Phillies had a hit last night before the end of the second inning on their way to defeating the Seattle Mariners last night by a score of 12-7. The stars of the game, though, were Trey Turner, who padded his lead for hits in the National League with 4 more last night, and Bryce Harper, who hit 2 monster home runs. Overall, the Phils had 21 hits for the game, the most by the team this season in a single game. Ranger Suarez was on the mound, and he looked better than his last few starts. He went 6 2/3 innings. He struck out 10, allowed 2 runs on 4 hits. The Phils run it back against the Mariners tonight. Christopher Sanchez is on the mound. First pitch is at 6:45. Zach Wheeler had his procedure done yesterday to remove that blood clot in his right shoulder. There still is not a timetable for his return. We're now just 16 days away from this Eagles season opener, though, against the Dallas Cowboys, but one question looms large. Who's going to earn that starting job outside of Quinyon Mitchell at cornerback? Our very own Birds insider, Andrew DeCecco, says maybe Adoree Jackson will be that guy early on, but it could end up being another player that ends up being better.
I believe that if the Eagles were to play a game tomorrow, it would be Adoree Jackson, just because he's less of a high variance type of player. You can plug him in and you know what you're going to get out of him. But I do believe that Jacorian Bennett is the best of the bunch.
This update was brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know you can save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. I'm Brendan Gunn, and you're listening to the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Show. I'm Ray Dunn. He's Brendan Gunn. Got you here on 97.5 The Fanatic. And I said that I was going to mention this new starting quarterback in the NFL. I got so taken aback by the number of tweets out there about Eagles going down at practice that I didn't even get to that. Congratulations, Daniel Jones, new starting quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts. Great runway to 7 wins this year.
He had a great runway at the Link that one year, too, and ended up eating dirt.
That was hilarious. Shane Steichen, going to be the next offensive coordinator turned Colts head coach that's out, we think.
And then once he's gone, you got to hear about him coming back
That's
for
gonna be
years
fun.
and years and years and years,
It's
like
a good
Frank
bit.
Reich.
Actually, what we should be saying is the new Kevin Patullo show, because we are now the Kevin Patullo show. All right? I'm not going to come up with a song yet, but we might get there. Kevin Patullo should be the odds-on favorite to be the next head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, because the Colts just love the offensive coordinator of the Eagles. And we believe that Kevin Patullo is going to succeed because he was early to his presser today. That's just bulletproof logic from us. So just put it on notice. I'll go to Indy. I will. I'll join us. I'll be quality control coach. That's my favorite title in all of sports. Quality control. What do they do? What quality are they controlling? We don't know. Because if you're a quality control coach for a bad team, is it your fault that things aren't going well? That there's no quality in what you guys are doing?
Listen, they didn't say good quality.
Yeah, but the reverse of that is, if your team's good, the quality control gets no credit for the quality because everyone's just giving credit to the good coaches. So what quality are you controlling?
You're just there, having fun.
I don't know, man.
You're having a good time.
These are the things that keep me up at night. But congratulations to one Daniel Jones. I know a lot of people have bet on him as comeback player of the year in the NFL, and I think that is why there are a lot of beautiful buildings in Vegas, because you people are throwing money away. Every which way. With all due respect. This 25 under 25 list that I wanted to get into from The Athletic, because a couple of Eagles are mentioned in there, and actually really high marks. So there were 2 Eagles mentioned in the 25 under 25. Brendan Gunn, because I know you didn't click the link. So please, guess the 2 Eagles that make the 25 under 25.
Quinyon Mitchell, Jalen Carter.
Okay, good. Good work by you. If you had to guess where Jalen Carter ends up here.
I feel like they don't put enough respect on his name. I'll say 11.
2.
Wow, that's the first time I've seen him that high on a list. Maybe it's because it's a limited pool of players to pull from.
Jalen Carter is higher on this list than Jaden Daniels. It goes Jamar Chase, then Jalen Carter, then Jaden Daniels. That's your top 3.
Shout out to the people that put this list together. They know their stuff.
The good people at The Athletic. Mike Jones. Shout you out, man. Thank you. Mike Jones.
Who? Is that too young for? Is that too old for you?
Might be. What am I missing here?
Mike Jones?
Oh, yeah.
Who?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now I quick look here. Yeah, I got you. Back to the content. Tough miss for me right there. Number 15, Quinyon Mitchell on this list. So you have 2 Eagles on this list. Cooper DeJean ends up being an honorary mention for this list. We could argue all day about where Quinyon could be. Like, should he be ahead of Trent McDuffie? Should he be ahead of fill-in-the-blank player? I don't really want to get down to the specifics. 2 of them end up in the top 25, the guys under 25. But we talk all the time about how young this team is. So if you could build a 5 for the Eagles out of the under 25 guys on this roster, it kind of goes to show that they should have more names on this list come another year, because you already go down the list. Cooper DeJean under 25. Nolan Smith still under the age of 25. John Campbell is 21. John Campbell, I think I tweeted this out when he was drafted. I believe, I'm not positive about this, but I believe he is the first player drafted by the Eagles that was born after the last game at the Vet. That's how young this guy is.
That's crazy.
Yes. He was born in 04. The guy's 21 years old. Like, absurd. So I would imagine he cracks his way onto this list going forward. Nolan Smith at 24 years old. By next year, you would hope, like for this edge rushing group, you would need him to kind of make this group next year. Jalix Hunt also falls in the under 25 category. you would love for him. Moro Ijomo is another guy that falls under this category, so kind of lends itself to the discussion about just how young this defense is. Jacorian Bennett, Keely Ringo under the ages of 25. Now, Ringo, I don't think is cracking this list because it doesn't even look like Ringo's going to crack the top 25.
But you've heard for years how great and young he is. He still has a lot of time to develop because he's still like 22 or whatever he is at this point. But
I've been saying that about me, man. When you go through this, though, the top 5 under 25 on the Eagles, Carter, Mitchell, DeJean, your top 3 for sure. Who else would you fit as the final 2 names on that list?
Yeah, you'd have to hope it's one of the edge rushers like Jalix Hunt or Nolan Smith. Drew Makuba, before he gets carted off today, he led the SEC in interceptions last year. Could he go out there and do that? He had a knack for the football on Saturday, pick 6, recovered that fumble. I don't know. Like, it has to be one of the edge rusher positions or else you're going to be in trouble.
It has to be.
Could it be Ojomo?
So Ojomo is kind of the dark horse here of who you would probably want, who could end up in that list. But really, to me, it boils down also 25 years old, but should throw this in there, Nakobe Dean. Also, depending on how you feel about Tanner McKee, Jahan Dotson, 25 years old. Sidney Brown, Corey Bennett, 25. So, like, you go down here, it again, plays to just how young this group is. If you think Tanner McKee is a future starting quarterback in this league, how could you not have him as one of the top 5 guys under the age of 25 for this team? He says with a little bit of a smirk on his face because he knows that there's someone out there that's just excited to hear Tanner McKee being talked about on the radio. I would say if I had to put the last 2 guys for again, Jalen Carter, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, that's your top 3. Nolan Smith, I think, has to be 4 by talent-wise. And
see, I put him like interchangeable with Hunt. Like if Hunt goes out there and does it and Nolan Smith's all right, it's fine. I just need one of those guys to do it.
All right. I think we have more of a sample size of Smith. Like Jalix Hunt showed up late for that team, and they're very welcome for him to show up when he did and have the impact that he did late in that season. I want to see that for a full 17 before I get too excited.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
So I think that's why I would go Smith. And then for the exercise here, I probably am going to go with one of the rookies. Like, I'm excited for what Ojomo could be. I also know that playing alongside Jalen Carter is a very, very good thing for anyone. So, like, if we're trying to put these guys in a vacuum, what they are. Campbell's got me. I'm sorry. The instinct I've seen, I've only seen 2 preseason games, and I can only listen to Saquon Barkley talk about the trash talking and how excited he is to play against him, and can only hear how many beat writers are raving about the guy and what he is. Flexible multiple positions here. Seeing him get to the quarterback of the preseason game, he might have to be my 5.
Like, you think it should be him, but I guess he falls into that line where it's like Jalix Hunt. I just need to see it first. I've seen a little bit that has some promise to it. I think it's going to go out there. I pretty much know he's going to be solid. Top 10 talent coming out. Fell to us because we know the injury scares or concerns that it hasn't reared its ugly head yet, like some other injuries today at camp. But Jahad Campbell, I think, is a great bet to be on that list this time next year.
And this is officially my last year being eligible for that list. So, if anyone wants to nominate me for that one, I appreciate you taking the time to do that. Coming up, we're going to back to the Phillies in the wake of the Wheeler news. We talked about, and we asked you the question. You can jump in on this one at 610-632-0975. What would you need to buy back in their status as contenders? Charles, who called from North Philly earlier, great call from him and just his excitement about this team. Feels like they're still right there, that he believes they'll do it. I'm going to need a lot more. Last night was a nice starting point for you, but that's kind of the expectation. Some of those things that happened last night are the expectation of what I need to see through 6 weeks to get back to that point. Also interested, because we got one comment on it, but I was really interested to see the way people are going to react to Jose Alvarado, and I'd love to hear about that at 610-632-0975. But the Wheeler situation, and we talked yesterday about pressure, could it have the opposite impact for guys on this team? Look at that idea coming up in Todd Selecki. Talking about the 6-man rotation yesterday when he joined us around this time yesterday. Who would it be? And how could it end up working out for this team? Playing again, too. He's Brendan Gunn. I'm Ray Dunn here on Middays, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Philly fans, you are the
I knew this was going to happen. Welcome back into the Midday Show. He's Brendan Gunn. I'm Ray Dunn, hanging out with you here on The Fanatic. Because when I say that last night's emblematic of what I need going the rest of the way, I knew at some point we'd get so you think they have to score 12 runs every night to sustain this level of success? Of course, if they score 12 runs tonight, they're going to win the World Series. And bewildered on our YouTube chat. And hello to all of our YouTube friends. I love you. And bewildered. This is not me taking a shot at you. This is just me realizing that this comment was going to come at some point. And I knew I'd have to clarify this. To be very clear, I don't think they have to score 12 runs tonight to win. If they continue to do it, I won't be upset. Hand up on that one. I don't think that every night 8 of the 9 guys in the lineup are going to have 2+ hits. Sorry, Bohm. I think what I got from last night was the guys who are paid to lead this team did their thing, and Ranger Suarez looked steady. Those two things are the pillars of what I need in the wake of the Wheeler news to have me buy back on this team as a contender. That's what I was saying about this team. Not that I think they need to score 12 runs a night. I want to be clear about that. Just because I saw it already, I figured we were going to get it. I was waiting for the DM from someone. Oh, yeah, easy. Just score 12 runs and have your starting pitcher go 6 innings where he looks like a stud. Yeah, that would be great. That is winning baseball. I was just saying emblematic, the idea of what it is, not the exact formula, not that we're going to see that every single night. The Phillies scored 12 runs again tonight, and Christopher Sanchez looks great. You know what? Maybe that's it. We should just book it. 12 runs a night. Never lose again. We'll be very clear about this one. And Bewildered finished the comment there with saying that, World Series feels like a long shot without Wheeler. I'm still there. I'm still there today. I'm telling you what I need over 6 weeks, not what I need over 6 hours last night. A little different thing. But we've had a ton of people chiming in on the text line a number of different things. So I want to get to the text line 610-632-0975. Brendan Gunn, what do we got?
We got Norm in Mayfair checking in, saying last night was a great hitting display, but everyone's mind is them hitting the wall in October once again. They'll definitely be feeling pressure, especially during those playoff games at home. Ranger has to stay the way he was last night, or there's no shot.
Okay, so one, Ranger will not feel pressure because Ranger doesn't feel, I think, anything. Like, in a good way. That's like a positive. He just doesn't seem to be bothered by anything.
Just the second half of the season after the All-Star.
It's not a pressure thing. It's not like a mentality thing. It's like I think his back just doesn't hold up. I don't think he's got the conditioning to go for the full 162, which I am still going to continue to say. Ranger Suarez, you, the missus, go over, hang out with Christopher Sanchez and the missus. Apparently, Christopher Sanchez's wife, I keep referencing this Gelb story, was a revolutionary in his training and his diet and the way that he has figured out how to be this level of pitcher in Major League Baseball, and it's allowed him, now he's getting close to the career high in innings. Just saying. Some tips, trades, like something in terms of the diet, give him something. So that at some point through your entire career, you could go through a full season instead of this first half, second half, just drastic difference. But Norm mentions in there the idea of pressure. And yesterday we asked the question, which Philly is under the most pressure? Aaron Nola was what Kevin had to say. I said, yeah, Nola's definitely the correct answer to this, but another answer on top of this to me was right-handed bats, and specifically I think the two that might not be here beyond this year, depending on the way the organization wants to go, Castellanos, Bohm, those guys, because the pressure for them to just contribute, you need more offensively. And that was more the additional answer to what I think the correct answer is with Aaron Nola. But what if this has kind of the opposite effect? Because you listen to me, guy sitting behind a microphone. You listen to Bewildered, who just types into the YouTube chat, I think World Series is a long shot. You listen to the general tone surrounding this team, even before the Wheeler news, where a lot of this fan base was like, I don't know, I don't really trust this group to do it. They have to do it. The window's closing, and I think that this group is aware of just how close they are, and I think the Wheeler news is always a reminder of just, how quickly things can change for you, not just in the game, but in life. I think that there is a chance it has the opposite impact, though, of pressure, where you sit there and you say, you know what? So much has kind of gone against us. Alvarado was our best reliever. He's now not eligible for the postseason. Our best starter. He's not right now going to pitch with us for the foreseeable future. We don't know when exactly a timetable would be. This show right now is operating under the assumption that he's not going to be back this season. Harper's been banged up and missed some time. You know, like you start to say, like, some things that you would sit there, Nola's been banged up for the first time really in his career and has not looked himself. And some of the pillars of this team, you say, oh, maybe, you know what? Things are going to work against us. Maybe it's not meant for us, and maybe that frees you up a little bit, where you're like, you know what? We've been pressing so much for this World Series thing, and we've talked so many times about how this team in the big moments, like it feels like they're, just really gripping the bat a little bit too tight there. Maybe this works the opposite way for them, where they're like, no, Wheeler, you know what? The expectation on us has been World Series for so long. These people still want a World Series, but the reality of what the situation is lends itself to a lot of people outside of these four walls not believing us. Screw it. It's just us at this point.
Yeah, if the rest of the lineup can get on board with that, because if you remember, last year, Nick Castellanos pretty much vocalized that exact same idea. And people were like, oh, Castellanos, you're pretty out there with that one. What do you mean no pressure? Now I think you can get behind that idea a little bit when you don't have your ace out there. What pressure is there? Nobody thinks we're actually going to win right now. Let's just go out there and do what we do. The issue with this team was it snowballed last year. Top of the order doesn't get a hit. Goes to the second guy. No hit. And that came to, manifested in itself. Alec Bohm smashing his bat in half and all that, getting suspended, or not suspended, but benched or whatnot, because that pressure builds up on them. And if that's not there because they don't think anybody outside thinks they can win, maybe that frees them up. I can get behind that idea. Now, can they get behind that idea?
Right. It's, again, a very glass half full type of thought process too. There's definitely a couple guys in there right now like, man, I got to do more. Like Trey Turner talked about it. And if you have the Turner, just real quick, something he mentioned, just everyone having to play a little bit better.
Definitely going to hurt a little bit and feel a little bit in here, but we don't have to rely on one person. We can all step up a little bit, and we can all play a little better defense. We can all pitch a little better. We can all hit a little better and play as a team. And I think if we all pick up a little bit of slack, I think we can get the job done.
And he says all those things, and sure, the idea, oh, yeah, I could play a little bit better. I could chip in a little bit there. And it's nice in theory, and think about the workplaces that you're in. If someone is not there and everyone's, all right, I'll do a little bit here. I'll do a little bit, contribute to try and fill the void of the person that was there before. Like, that's pretty much like what they're trying to say there. So it's not totally out of the realm of possibility. A little different when you're playing a sport, playing a game, as compared to just, hey, Mark from accounting is got a project that we all need to work on together here. Like, a little bit different, but the idea is there. And maybe there is a little sense of the pressure of this is the year to do it when you realize that things have worked against you. And right here, you are faced with something really that everyone else on the outside sees is almost insurmountable. You might say, yeah, screw it. Like, what do I have to lose at this point? Because no one else is expecting us to do it.
And I'm there with you. The only thing I'll push back on that is the pressure, I think, falls more on the lineup in and of itself in a vacuum, outside of having its star ace pitcher, best pitcher in the National League in my mind, not on your team right now. There's no timetable for his return. I think the lineup, it kind of was independent of that anyway, the pressure that's on them to finally put it together for 1 month in October. They had Zach Wheeler out there throw a diamond of a game last year. You lost it. Why? Because the bats didn't do it. That's where I struggle to think they're not going to have the pressure on. Maybe 1 home run early on, 2 home runs. That lightens the pressure. I don't know. That's just the only pushback I have on it. I think the pressure on the lineup is independent of the pitching staff. As the team as a whole to win the whole thing, I can get behind it. But I need to see the lineup do it.
That's fair. I mean, I think we all need to, and something I keep driving home, we need to see them sustain it over multiple weeks at this point. I haven't seen this team do it. Well, right, Owen and across the sport has done it. Well, guess what? There's 29 teams that aren't going to win a freaking World Series this year. I'm trying to be the one that does. Also, I see you in the YouTube chat. And I know what I said.
I got to go take a look.
No, it's not bad. It's not bad. I was trying to talk about how they're dealing with pressure and how, sometimes you're just, a little tight, like gripping the bat, like that was, let's grow up, all right? Let's grow up a little bit on the YouTube chat there. We got a lot of people chiming in on how they're going to react to Jose Alvarado. Again, eligible to return today. Curious for you at 610-632-0975. What do you expect the ovation to be, and what do you expect, and what would you do if you were there the first time Alvarado takes the mound. He's Brendan Gunn. I'm Ray Dunn. Take it through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Everybody hits. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. Yes, every single player on the Phillies had a hit before the end of the second inning last night on their way to defeating the Seattle Mariners by a score of 12-7. The stars of the show, though, were Trey Turner, who padded his lead for hits in the National League with 4 more last night, and Bryce Harper, who hit 2 monster home runs. Overall, the Phils had 21 hits for the game, the most by the team in a single game this season. Ranger Suarez was on the mound, and he looked better than his last few starts. He went 6 2/3 innings. He struck out 10, allowed 2 runs on 4 hits. The Phils run it back against the Mariners tonight. Christopher Sanchez is on the mound. First pitches tonight at 6:45. Zach Wheeler officially had his procedure done to remove the blood clot in his right shoulder yesterday. There's still no timetable for his return. Timetable, though, for the Eagles. We're 16 days away from the season opener against the Cowboys, but one question looms large. Who's going to start opposite of Quinyon Mitchell at cornerback? Our very own Birds insider, Andrew DeCecco, says maybe Dory Jackson's going to be that guy week 1, but there could be a better option.
I believe that if the Eagles were to play a game tomorrow, it would be a Dory Jackson, just because he's less of a high variance type of player. You can plug him in and you know what you're going to get out of him. But I do believe that Jacorian Bennett is the best of the bunch.
This update was brought to you by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies with national LTE coverage. For a limited time, get 60% off and free UPS shipping at rapidradios.com. Use code radio for an extra 5% off. I'm Brendan Gunn, and you're listening to the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Coming up in a few minutes, we've got the NFL notes at noon. And for those wondering, yes, at 1 o'clock, we will have Gun at 1. Some people yesterday, I understand, were thinking, wow, was Ray serious about taking that segment away from Brendan Gunn? Yes, I was. I still remain questionable about leaving editorial decisions up to him, even if it is for 7 minutes of the show. But we will still keep this segment going so long as Brendan Gunn wants to do it. But coming up, we got NFL notes at noon in a few minutes here. One NFL note for me. I don't know, have you seen this Cowboys Netflix thing coming up?
I have not.
So, yes, the Cowboys, I think it's called the franchise, America's Team, the Gambler and his Cowboys. That's what it is. Sorry, not at all called the franchise. Focusing on the 1990s Dallas Cowboys. It premieres tonight. And, of course, Jerry Jones, Of course, they're focusing on the 90s because they want to at least make Jerry Jones look competent. But one of the things that I've seen on social media that's beautiful, just, wonderful. 2023. You remember when they made the playoffs in 2023, what happened to them?
2023, was that the year they got smoked by the Packers?
That's right. Jordan Love absolutely kicked the crap out of the Packers. It was awesome. Loved it. Loved every second of that game. Jerry Jones calls it apparently the worst they've ever had in terms of losses as a franchise.
And that's when they let Kellen Moore go, right? Because they pinned it on him.
Yeah. Then Kellen Moore. No.
Was that the year before? Or?
No, because that was the year before they let Kellen Moore go. Because Mike McCarthy was the wonder of reinventing offense that year because the Cowboys were good. Because Moore goes to the Chargers, and then after the Chargers, he comes to the Eagles. And now he is in New Orleans.
Correct,
and
yes.
Just has no shot this year. Like, it's horrible to go into a season and have no shot. You look at his quarterback room. He has to go in there every day like, man.
Yeah, send us a first. Come on. Mickey Loomis still down there? Send us a first.
No. We're not trading Tanner McKee. Not trading Tanner McKee. They're waiting. They want to complete the Manning legacy. What they want to complete. That's what they're looking for down there in New Orleans. That's what they want this year. That's what they're trying to get out of this season. Hey, Kellen, you got job security because you don't have a quarterback yet. Good for you. Take a lot, I think, for them to mess that one up because they have nothing there. But coming up in a few minutes, we got the NFL notes in about a minute. But I want to get to some of these Alvarado reactions because I'm very curious to see how the fan base, you get it at 610-632-0975. Alvarado eligible to return tonight. How will you react when you see him out on the mound? What do we got, Brandon Gunn?
No name on this one, but he says Alvarado let the team down, and although we may recover and have a great postseason run, you never know. I can't forget what he did to force us to give up what we had to at the deadline.
So I've heard a couple of people, they're like, it's funny. You can get to a different answer with the same logic, which is, I guess, why we have jobs. And I've heard people say, well, you don't end up with this awesome closer if Alvarado doesn't get suspended. And I've also heard that one where look at what you had to give up because Alvarado is not here. I would like to think they were going to go big in the bullpen anyways. But they've gone that big. I'm not crying over Tait and Abel. I understand. I was probably higher on Tait than most people just because I knew he existed before May. And I have a buddy that's like really tapped in that like was all about him. And I tend to trust him in the way that he evaluates young players because like it's his thing. He's big on that. So I would say that I'm not crying because they're gone. So I really can't get upset at that fact. I'll understand the people that are disappointed when he comes back and they're just like, I'm not going to understand the boos because at this point, you know what the punishment is. He's served 80 games. You're upset about the postseason, but for 6 weeks, I kind of need the guy to help deliver and put this team in a position to get a bye and be a viable postseason contender. So I'm not really going to get on board with the booing thing. Do we have any more reacting before we get to the NFL notes in here?
Yeah, got it. Somebody else checking in. Ben in Bucks County says you boo him to start, then after he strikes out the first person and gets the first out, you cheer him again. But you boo him to start to show him that it isn't acceptable what he did, and he deserves to hear some boos.
If he doesn't know that what he did wasn't acceptable, then he's lost anyways. Like to me, Ray up there in section 427, boo! Like, Alvarado all of a sudden is like, I probably shouldn't have done those. Like, the last 80 games wasn't a good sign from him of like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Or the fact that he's going to have to sit out the postseason. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have done it. He's going to realize it when I go, boo. Like, that's, come on. He should know that. He should know that. I'm not telling you to cheer him when he comes on there. I'm just, just kind of like, all right, yeah. He's out there. He's part of this team. Once he strikes out the first guy, yeah, I'm absolutely, let's get him. But until then.
See, what hits worse? No boo, but then he strikes somebody out. It's just deadpan to the crowd and nothingness. Like,
yeah,
I think
you know that's not going to happen. you know he hits high 90s with the fastball to strike somebody out. That crowd's
just staring into his soul.
Yeah. All right. 12 o'clock hour. 12 o'clock right here. I want to tell you, listen to WPN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. Brendan Gunn, it's time. Hit the music. NFL notes at noon. What do we got around the league?
Yes, you brought up one starting quarterback announcement earlier in the show, that Daniel Jones starting out there for the Colts now. But you forgot to mention that one local kid, that local product, Joe Flacco,
yes.
elite, announced as the starting quarterback for the Browns. Are they making a mistake there? Like, is that the wrong move?
I mean, it's just prolonging the inevitable conversation. Like, do we think Kenny Pickett? Also, local guy versus local guy, and neither one of them are the one that people want to see. Like, obviously, where this is going is when can they get Shador on the field for a lot of people. I mean, it's a mistake because it doesn't help you long term. Do the Browns think they're winning this year? The issue is you have probably people in place, Stefanski included, where it's like, I needed to start winning to justify my job. And you've got an organization that probably could use to look at its future. And when those two things collide, you're in a tough spot. You're in a very tough spot. That's why Stefanski's going with the quarterback that can keep his job. And the Browns are probably looking at the quarterbacks down the line that can help build their future. Whether or not they have the future answer on the roster right now is a bigger question. But I do think it's just the conflict of interest that leads you there. So for that coaching staff, the ones that want to keep their jobs past this year, it's probably the right call.
Yeah.
Organizationally, it just shows you that there is no synergy in what they're doing. And the owner kind of invited this one by stepping in and saying, you know what, we're going to go draft a guy that a lot of people thought was a first-round talent late in this draft and make that happen. Shador Sanders should not have fallen that far.
No.
But with that being said, the fact that he ends up on this roster now shows you just the conflict of interest across the board for this team. It's probably a mistake for the long-term view of this team, but this coaching staff won't look at it that way.
Speaking of synergy, it sounds like the Titans don't have it on offense and defense, because we spoke about the Titans last week fighting another quarterback in a joint practice with Michael Penix. Well, they had more fighting to do with quarterbacks, and this time it was their own, and it was Jeffrey Simmons, their star defensive tackle, all-pro level talent, fighting Cam Ward. 96 degrees down there in Tennessee. Might be a little hot. Could be that, but 16 days, 18 days from week one, you don't want your star player fighting your quarterback.
The top quarterback. The guy
Number one
like
pick.
this is not just like, oh yeah, it's some, not some like random. This is bad. Like, I mean, I don't know what to make of the Titans anyways, but yours, again, you're one of the best players of the team. You should be a leader, especially for the young guy out there. And if the young guy's doing something you don't appreciate, fighting him is probably not the best case for that. We can use our words here. I understand that this is a grown man's game, and you're going to make decisions in the heat of the moment, but going after your number one overall pick, you're the veteran, dude. Act like it. Act like it. If you think he's a little bit of a punk, if I don't know what he said, I don't know what he's doing that's upsetting you, but ultimately you can deal with that outside of the bounds of practice. He's in the red shirt for a reason.
You're not lying.
You set the tone for your practice. You're the all-pro. You are the veteran. You have to be the one that controls your emotions in that scenario.
All right, let's go around the NFC East. Brian Robinson Jr. did not play last night. There was a mutual decision between the Commanders and himself. It sounds like he's going to be on his way out there. Terry McLaurin also did not practice or play in the game last night. He wasn't even in the building at the stadium for that preseason game last night. And then our guy, Adam Schefter, who joins the morning show every single Wednesday, he appeared on Sportsmanlike on ESPN Radio this morning, and he gave an update about where he thinks the Micah Parsons situation in Dallas is going.
There's not a deal in sight today. Could that change? Yes. I don't think it will. I think, my own opinion, is that as it currently stands today, unless there's a change, then Micah's time in Dallas is going to be limited. It won't be a full career.
Oh, really? That's a shame. That's a shame. Oh, boo-hoo. Boo-hoo. Send him to the AFC, please. I mean, that's a change in tone from a guy who's as plugged in as anyone. Because I think a lot of us were like, yeah, this ends with Micah Parsons back in Dallas. They'll get something done. Jerry's just negotiating against himself again. It's gotten ugly. At some point, like, players have to realize dealing with him is just the worst. Like, guys have gotten paid because of it, but dealing with him has been the worst.
I would not want that guy as my boss. I mean, I played it for you guys last week. He operates like it's a soap opera, like it's reality TV. He's trying to be in the news 24/7. It sounds like he's putting winning secondary.
Oh, yeah. Well, third, because you got to check out this Netflix documentary on it. Is there a figure in sports, I guess, maybe this is because I've only experienced the last 25 years of Jerry Jones owning them, but, like, I don't need a multi-part series on Jerry Jones. Like, I get he's interesting, but winning is interesting to me. There's 101 ways to destroy a franchise. I don't know. Maybe this is just me being a hater. I'll probably watch it. I'll probably hate watch it. I'm curious. How many people out there are going to watch? 610-632-0975. But Micah, good. Works for me. Get McLaurin out of the division. Get Micah Parsons out of the division. The Eagles have become a gold standard in football. On top of that, they've benefited from being in the same division as some of the worst organizations in this sport. And you can't deny that one either. He's Brendan Gunn. I'm Ray Dunn. Take it through middays here at 97.5 The Fanatic.
And
the show. Getting into a ton today. I'm curious for you, Begun. This is a little bit off the beat path. So we're going to get back to the Phillies. We're going to get to that Harper Turner conversation that I've been talking about probably since the outset of the show that I wanted to get into. So we'll get to that, as well as your reaction to the question we asked to open up the show, asking you, what is your buyback point? In the next 6 weeks, what can this Phillies team show you in the wake of what you know now about the potential of not having Zach Wheeler? What can this team show you in the next 6 weeks that gets you to buy back into the idea of them being a World Series contender? So you get in on that 610-632-0975. Begun, I'm curious for you, what is your unofficial end of summer? What is like the one thing that happens in your life where you're like, yeah, man, summer's cooked. It's over?
So there's like two things. I have my beer Olympics every year with my buddies. And once that's done, the summer is over. So to me, it's like, oh, full steam ahead, you know.
I love that you have that. It's not laughing at the fact that you do it. It's just like you give across such a Delco vibe. You know that you can't really run from it. Just like, I'm not even gonna try and do your voice and do like just the way it sounds, but like it's the beer Olympics that like ends my summer. It's like,
it is, man. That's what I look forward to. In the Delco world, I got two things. I got the beer Olympics in the summer. I got the mountain house in the winter, and that's what my life revolves around.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing alongside you on this one. It was like a smack in the face of Delco there. Yeah, the beer Olympics really is what ends my summer, man.
It is. All right. And then, to be honest with you, another thing, it's training camp. Once training camp gets here, like from a sports standpoint, it's all downhill from there. Like, I'm walking out this morning, it's football weather. I'm ready to go.
Just want to hit somebody.
Yeah, like summer's done. It's cooked. I know a lot of people out there like, don't wish it away. We've still got 2 more weeks of August. Labor Day is the unofficial. Actually, it's September 21st. No, training camp's here. Summer's done.
Yeah, so training camp is around the time. I was debating a few weeks ago if, like, when I start scheduling my weekend around Eagles postgame. Like, usually when, like, the Eagles schedule hits, I say this because, I'm getting back into, like, my broadcast schedule. Like, for those people that don't know, outside this, I do play-by-play for a number of different outlets. I do a lot of soccer in the fall because a lot of universities around here, soccer, need, mostly Temple, doing some stuff with Monmouth. Doing my first game later this week. So, for me, it's that first email setting up a coach's call where it's like, all right, I'm starting to put together prep sheets and like, all right, I'm trying to marry the Phillies stretch run, the Eagles beginning of the season, and the broadcast schedule, and I'm just constantly in my calendar. And like all summer long, my calendar is just like this fun thing where it's like, oh yeah, Thursday night I'm going out to see this person, or Wednesday we're going to the Phillies game together, or Wednesday I'm going to text in the basketball group chat and say that I'm out because I have plans. Like that to me is like summer, where it's like, yeah, it's a fun thing to try and figure that. Now it's like, how can I cram as much work into as little amount of time as I possibly can over the next 6 weeks? So I'm in the break, I'm working on that like coach's call of like, all right, we're going to break down this team. I want to get information on this team. When can we meet? And that to me is like the unofficial end of summer, where I'm like, the next time I will breathe is probably sometime around St. Patrick's Day.
That's fair. And then from our job standpoint, I think another thing you could say is the MLB trade deadline. Like once that's over with, it's all sights ahead, full steam ahead towards October. And then it's like at that point, it's like, okay, August is halfway gone. Like, all right.
There also is, from a content perspective, I feel like when ESPN puts out the quarterback list, like that's a good sign that like from, and like, the worldwide leader also like from like, the big personality standpoint, it's like, Stephen A. returns from vacation to react to our top 25 quarterbacks in the NFL. And it's like, that's like the signaling to like the entire sports universe that like football's on its way.
When Greeny's back on Get Up instead of like the plethora of hosts they have all summer filling in for him.
Instead of their version of Ray Dunn. Yeah, like that's exactly. So I'm curious for people out there, what is like your official end of summer? Like what officially shows you? Because I think I just sent the email that officially ends my summer, is what I'm saying. I think my summer just ended right here.
It's cooked, finished?
I think it's done. I had got a text this week from some of those things. You're meeting us out North Wildwood this week, and I was like, if you can find the time in my calendar for me to get down North Wildwood, sure. But I don't think so. I'm breaking down Eagles-Jets preseason football coming up Friday night.
Electric.
But I'm curious how people feel about that. But we were also curious how people felt about Jose Alvarado getting back out on the mound. We got a couple of the reactions early from the text line. I saw Dave P in our YouTube chat saying that you think he's going to get cheered because people are forgiving. I kind of feel like that's where it's going to go. But I feel like I'm in the minority with that. I think that we've gotten a lot of boos and a lot of people saying they are going to acknowledge that their acknowledgement for him will be either non-existent or letting him know that he screwed up. And I'm curious if that sentiment still holds true on our text line. What do we got there, Beacon?
Yeah, short and sweet. I'm going to boo the hell out of him. He deserves it, and he can go home the rest of the year for all I care at this point.
Okay. Straight to the point. Maybe I don't have the feel that I thought I did with this fan base. I just think we've gotten to a point of pick up the guy type thing, and maybe this one, I know a lot of people, you don't buy what they said about the excuse of, he was trying to lose weight. You're obviously disappointed in what he's done for the team, and I'm not going to invalidate any of those feelings that you have about him. I just don't know what you're solving by booing him is more my thing. Like, I don't know. If he doesn't realize that he's done wrong at this point, then he's lost. Like, then they'll decline the option, then he'll be gone, and we'll all be over this within, 6 weeks. Like, this will all be over within 6 weeks.
I think the first person or one of the first texts we read earlier in the show kind of hit it on the head. You boo him the first time. I'm not a booer, but if he's going to get booed, go out there and boo him the first time. After that, it's bygones be bygones. I got to cheer the guy. Like, at this point,
if he let's say Duran goes back-to-back nights and they don't want to go 3 straight nights because they don't want to mess with his arm, and you have to have Alvarado close out a game. Is there a chance that Alvarado closes out the game and everyone's looking around like, you want to cheer the guy? Say,
oh, dude, imagine that. You think you're getting the Duran experience and
or tonight, 8th inning, 1-run game. Alvarado comes in. I don't think they're going to trust him in this situation this early, so this doesn't really feel like a realistic possibility. But let's say for conversation's sake, he goes 3 up, 3 down, 12 pitches, looks electric. And I'm like, nope, he cheated.
I know the perfect way for Rob Thompson to manage this. You get a 1-run game going into the 9th. You think the people are getting their phones out, the flashlights out. Alvarado comes in instead. People boo. You can tell Jose Alvarado, no, they're not booing you, buddy. They're booing that we didn't put Duran in tonight. They wanted the experience. That way the fans that want to boo get it out of the way. And Jose Alvarado's feelings don't get hurt.
All right, we got some people on the YouTube chat checking in. Neil Deaver, down 4 runs, will get boos for Alvarado. Up 4 runs, he'll get cheers. Interesting look at it. Circumstance playing into it. Colby's saying that he doesn't boo, but he considered for Romano. Not exactly the question that we were going with here. Randy,
spot on, Colby.
We need to sign his twin brother, Jesse Alvarado, for the playoff run.
I am 13.
Man. Yeah, I think judging by the YouTube chat and our text line, I'm going to be sitting here like, wow, I guess people really do feel some type of way. Maybe that's just me. All right. We talked early in the show about what you need to see over the next 6 weeks. 2 guys to me. Last night, big games for them. We have not seen the extended stretch of the 2 of them, save for one torrid stretch since Turner and Harper have become teammates. Is that the key to unlocking this whole thing? I want to break down a couple numbers about those 2 coming up in the next segment. He's Brendan Gunn. I'm Ray Dunn. Taking it through middays, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
A job still up for grabs. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. The Eagles had quite the day of practice today. It started with Jordan Mailata being ruled out with a concussion and progressed with Drew Makuba entering the medical tent and Johnny Wilson being carted off. We'll keep you updated on those injuries as we get more information. But we're now just 16 days away from the Eagles season opener on September 4th against the Dallas Cowboys. But one question looms large. Who's going to start opposite of Quinyon Mitchell at cornerback? Our very own Birds insider Andrew DeCecco said maybe it's going to be a Dory Jackson early on, but there could be a better option.
I believe that if the Eagles were to play a game tomorrow, it would be a Dory Jackson, just because he's less of a high-variance type of player. You can plug him in and you know what you're going to get out of him, but I do believe that Jacorian Bennett is the best of the bunch.
A day after every player had a hit on the Phillies lineup, the team put together a season high in hits last night with 21. The team looks to keep those bats hot tonight. The Phils run it back against the Seattle Mariners. Christopher Sanchez is on the mound. First pitches tonight at 6:45. And Zach Zach Wheeler officially had the procedure done yesterday to remove the blood clot in his right shoulder. There's still no timetable for his return quite yet. This update was brought to you by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies with nationwide LTE coverage. For a limited time, get 60% off and for UPS shipping at rapidradios.com. Use code RADIO for an extra 5% off. I'm Brendan Gunn, and you're listening to the home of the best birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Back into the midday show. I'm Ray Dunn, Brendan Gunn producing the show. Coming up at 1 o'clock, it's Gunn at 1. I'm worried. I'll just say it. I'm terrified. I hand over the content of the show to him for about overall total runtime, 15 minutes. The NFL notes at noon. He does tremendous. Wonderful job. So far, I don't know. You're probably batting well enough to make it to the Hall of Fame and gone at one. But if it was a shooting percentage, your ass would be on the bench.
Listen, I got an opinion today.
Oh,
share
great.
it.
That's what I wanted to hear.
I think it's kind of in line with your Phillies argument.
Oh.
But we'll see.
Oh.
Could be another team, but we'll see.
Wow. Pandering. 12 o'clock hour here brought to you by Service First HVAC, offering 0% financing for 48 months. Rebates and tax credits up to $4,300 when purchasing a heating and cooling system. Learn more at ServiceFirstHVAC.com. All right, I wanted to get to this Phillies conversation because we asked you the question, what do you need to see over the next 6 weeks to buy back for them being World Series contenders? Because last night was emblematic of the things you want to see. Again, them scoring 12 runs, not what I'm expecting every night, and not what they need to do to win. Them scoring runs, yes, that is true. They need to do that. But I said, Ranger Suarez, he needs to be one of two pitchers that give you consistently good outings the rest of the way alongside Christopher Sanchez for me to feel solid, because you still need the starting pitching to win. Now you go to the lineup side of things, and I saw two guys that really, amongst all of them, stood out last night. I think the guy that nearly totaled 900 feet of home run balls last night probably is one of those two in Bryce Harper. In the game, he's 3 for 6. He obviously has the 2 home runs. Trey Turner remembered how to hit a home run at Citizens Bank Park. How beautiful. How beautiful. It was one of the weirdest stats going, to have a dozen home runs and none of them come at home. Even weirder, and Paul Casella of MLB.com put together a story on this. Beautiful. Get delivered in the inbox. Just read it in the email and then start clicking links there where you go to MLB.com. And I love reading some of the stuff that both Paul and Todd Selecki do for them covering the Phillies. Oddly enough, if every single batted ball Trey Turner had this year was at Citizens Bank Park, he would have had more home runs than he already has. It just so happens that none of them have come at... It's weird. It's very weird. Very odd. But he finally hits one last night there. He's 4 for 6. 5 RBIs last night. Those two guys have played together now in Philadelphia since 2023. We know the start that Trey Turner got out to. Okay, we are very aware of how 2023 went. Standing ovation, now an Emmy Award-winning film. You know, we got it. We understand the storyline that went there. What followed that ovation, though, the amazing stretch from Turner, also had a great stretch from Bryce Harper. And I went through this because I was interested to see the times that the two of them on the Phillies have both had an OPS over 850. Over 850 for a month. So not 900, just over 850. Right now, that's happening in August. So there's one example of it. The only other example I can get of that is 2023 August, and then that September, and they played one game in October there to the finish. Harper and Turner in that time, both were actually OPS over 1,000 at that time. So it was 1.067 for Harper from August 1st to the end of the 2023 regular season. And then for Turner, even 1.000. Both of them hit 16 home runs at that time in that last 2-month stretch of the season. They were scorching hot. And in that time, the Phillies played to a 33-23 record, which is a 95-win pace. And if that doesn't sound impressive, right now across baseball, there is one team playing better than that pace. That's the Brewers. That's it across baseball. So when you talk about, are there any great teams in baseball? Are there any good teams in baseball? The way the Phillies played when Turner and Harper were that hot offensively in 2023 is that a better pace than all but one team in baseball right now. When we talk about what this team needs to go do something, we all are pretty solid in what Kyle Schwarber brings to you. We know he's having the season that likely will end with him getting the second most MVP votes. When Harper and Turner are going good at the same time, that is something that can lift a team to a World Series. That is something that can lift you for weeks at a time, because that stretch they played in 2023 is the one example we've gotten of it. Now, it speaks to a little bit of the inconsistency, whether it be Harper being banged up, Turner was banged up, if you remember, in 2024. Obviously, we know the injury history with Harper. They haven't necessarily had the most consistent playing time together over the 3 years. And when Turner has the start to the year he has in 2023, and Harper has the instances we've seen with the elbow, the consistency in both of them going at the same time hasn't been there. But in the wake of what the Phillies need post-Zach Wheeler, this duo, the best friends, the guy that Harper went on the broadcast was like, hey, my favorite shortstop in baseball is Trey Turner. Wink, wink. Like, let's bring that guy here. That's what they need. That, when we talk about the pillars of improvement, starting pitching, getting Ranger Suarez, and one other guy to be consistently good with Christopher Sanchez at the top of that rotation. But the ceiling that we all talk about with this team, that's the ceiling right here. And the reason you haven't seen the ceiling of the lineup is because you haven't gotten those two going at the same time. I'm talking about an 850 OPS, higher than that from both of them for a month. The timelines just haven't lined up. Part of the reason they've been good is because you've had that top-level talent. When one goes down, the other's doing well. When one's kind of scuffling, the other one figures it out. That keeps you going for months at a time. But those two guys alone, forget what you get from the bottom of this lineup for a second. Forget what you're getting from the Bryson Stotts. Forget what you're getting from JT, from Castellanos, from whoever decides to play center field tonight. Like, forget that for a second, because you haven't gotten it enough consistently from those two guys together. And those two guys together, to me, when we look at the pillars of what you need post-Zach Wheeler, it fits right there. That is where I'm going to have most of my focus locked in on. There are guys that could step up in this lineup. These two we know can be those players, and we've only seen it really for a 2-month stretch at the end of that 2023 season since they've been teammates here in Philadelphia, that they've been able to carry this offense on their shoulders, the two of them at the same time. They've both done it plenty of times on their own, but to do it at the same time is what takes this team without Zach Wheeler from a good team that's going to be in the postseason that we could say could surprise a team, win a series, maybe flirt with the idea of winning a pennant, to a team that you can absolutely say, yeah, that's a group that can win the pennant. The reason a lot of us aren't confident in that is because we haven't seen it consistently. But there is an example of them doing it consistently, and that's what you're looking for the rest of the way.
I'm right there with you, man, and I keep going back to it. I don't want to lighten the situation of losing Zach Wheeler. That's super, you can't overcome that 9 times out of 10. You go out there and you have a Trey Turner and a Bryce Harper put it together at the same time, along with the season Kyle Schwarber's putting together. You can maybe get a run or two out of a right-handed bat, Castellanos, Alec Boehm, from time to time if they can fill in. But if those guys go out there and they finally hit at the same time come October, I don't care who's on the mound necessarily, as long as it's not Jordan Romano, but anybody else is on the mound. I think they're going to keep the Phils in the game, and this lineup could mash in that situation your way to a World Series title. Like, that's how far I'll go with it. It's just a matter of doing it night in, night out for a month in a row.
And that's where this comes into play. Because last night, we're talking about upside and what you could see and ceiling, and you feel good about the way they hit last night. What I'm asking for is basically what I saw at the end of 2023. I'm looking for that type of stretch. And listen, having those two guys hit 16 home runs apiece in a 2-month stretch where Turner was getting on base at a 371 clip and Harper was getting on base at a 425 clip might be a little much. So I'm not asking necessarily for that. But when we haven't had month stretches where they're both at an 850 OPS or higher, both of them, if they could be somewhere near 900 for the last 2 months of the season, that's enough to show me, hey, these guys clicking together can deliver that. But that requires a level of consistency we haven't seen from the two of them as teammates at the same time. We've seen them have great stretches, but at the same time, and that's what you need in the last 6 weeks of this season. That's what you need to lift this team before we get to, what's Boehm got to do? Hey, what's Castellanos got to do? Hey, what's the outfield production have to be? Can JT sustain what he has had for the last couple of months? This is what I need first from the offensive side of things. So react to that a little bit, whether or not you think that's feasible. Is that too much of an ask for me? And you can get in at 610-632-0975. Coming up, bottom of the hour, Bill Barnwell, I want to apologize for something you didn't even know that I was going to talk about. Okay? Bill Barnwell has no idea who the hell I am, but I'm going to apologize to him anyway. Get your reaction to some of the Phillies conversation we've had, 610-632-0975. But we'll get into this Bill Barnwell piece about the NFL and an article I expected to see the Eagles in, but I did not. And it's a good thing. He's Brendan Gunn. I'm Ray Dunn, hanging out with you middays, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now, a Birds Insider update on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Another busy day of training camp. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Birds Insider Fanatic update. The Eagles were hard at work for another day of training camp today, but there were some notable players absent from practice today. Those names include A.J. Brown, who was out yet again with the hamstring issue, Devontae Smith dealing with the groin issue, and Jordan Mailata, who was out today with a concussion. On the field, though, a few more injuries occurred. Drew Makuba came up lame and entered the medical tent at one point of practice, and Johnny Wilson was ended up getting carted off of practice today. We'll keep you updated on those injuries once we get more info on that. One guy that wasn't hurt at practice today and was on the field was new wide receiver John Mechie III. Kevin Patullo spoke to the media prior to today's practice about his new addition on offense.
When you bring a guy in later in camp, right, they just have to be caught up to speed as fast as they can. But with us still having a couple weeks after this week, I think the timing's pretty good.
With the injury to Johnny Wilson, we'll see if Mechie has to get caught up to speed even sooner. The Eagles have one more preseason game on the slate this Friday against the New York Jets, and then all eyes are set on September 4th and that Week 1 matchup against the Dallas Cowboys. I'm Brendan Gunn, and you're listening to the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
out of my studio, Vito. I'm trying to do a show. Gosh, it's the midday show. Every time you try and get something done in middays, everyone's here in the office. They want to talk to you. Trying to do work in here. We're trying to entertain the people. All right? Jeez, Vito. Hi, I'm Ray Dunn. He's Brendan Gunn. Hanging out with you here on the midday show. Here on The Fanatic. We got a story on ESPN from Bill Barnwell that I thought for sure the Eagles would be a part of. They were not, and we're going to get to in a second. But we've been talking about the Phillies and just laid out. It wasn't even really a question I'm asking. Some people saying, I know Money Mar in our YouTube chat saying that he's not ready to put the circle of trust there for Turner going forward. And I do want to get to that idea in the 1 o'clock hour, how this fan base feels about Turner, because one of his biggest critiques has kind of slowly become one of his biggest strengths this season. We're going to get to that. I remember the debates we were having in May. Hand up. I was a part of those debates. Props where props are due. We'll get to that the way they feel about it. But it wasn't so much even a question of, like, do you believe they could do it? It was more of a I demand it type of deal there with what I need from Turner and Harper the rest of the way, especially now knowing where you're at with the Zach Wheeler situation. But someone that I think is more positive, might feel good today after the 12-7 win, will be our guy out in Westchester, Uncle Frank. Uncle Frank, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Happy Tuesday, boys. You guys are holding it all together. Every day Saturday but Sunday. I'm good, my man.
Good to hear. Appreciate you checking in with us. What do you got on the Phils?
Yeah. Well, let me preface. At Bill's Yahoo Country Club, at the turn, there's a dunk tank in the Tilda World. Come on.
I'm not in charge of the rim shot anymore. You're asking for Brendan Gunn here. Sorry.
Yo, B. Well, he doesn't understand. He probably doesn't know the premise of the whole thing. Anyway. So.
I got to say, when you make a joke and there is no rim shot, it's so much more entertaining for me.
Yes. It's like Carson. When Carson would tell a bad joke and no one would. Anyway.
Yes, I've long thought that you and Johnny Carson are the same person, Uncle Frank.
All right, you wise ass. So, the Phillies bats, right, are typically bipolar. It's either the top of the lineup feasting or the bottom is fasting, with the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
So it's refreshing to see a nice offensive effort 1 through 9 last night. And, through sports history, albeit infrequently, there's times when a star goes down, the players pick themselves up and carry the fallen star. So, as in Wheeler, obviously. So, hopefully, that is trending.
Do you see that with this group?
It's early, but it would not surprise me.
So you kind of come away the same I did last night. You were encouraged by the fact that they showed up and fought the way they did, and they did some of the things that you need them to do the rest of the way.
Yes.
All right. Hey, listen, I'm all for the positivity here, Uncle Frank.
Through the game. Now, BG, you can always do a rim shot, Good Lord.
Uncle Frank, good to hear from you. He compared himself to Carson there. You heard that. He thinks he's Johnny Carson.
He could be.
Uncle Frank, I appreciate you. You know that. Thanks for checking in. I am not going any further on whether or not he could or couldn't be. All right? Let's put it this way. If the bar is Ish, he clears the bar.
Oh, what a way.
Dude, Ish's mature calls last week were kind of freaky. I did not appreciate.
They're somber.
Yeah, it was weird. Odd. Some things you come to expect with the midday show. I did not expect that at all. But good to hear from Uncle Frank. And he's right there with me in terms of what they've shown you. Like what they showed you last night, the pillars of what they need to have for me to buy back in. I need 6 weeks of it, okay? It's not one Ranger start that's going to make me think everything's gone. The velocity being back, guys whiffing, and the fact that he missed a lot of barrels, all that, all right. Feel good there. The bats, again, not expecting a dozen runs a game. But the two guys that I outlined in the last segment that I really need to carry this way the rest of the way, that I haven't seen do it at the same time, like that. Now, one thing I saw, and we're going to switch gears to the NFL here for a second, and switch gears to be kind of issuing, I'll call it like a preemptive apology, because I expected at some point, I don't know if you've followed, we talked about summer ending, the content cycle. Every year, Bill Barnwell does these stories of who he expects to regress and who he expects to get better in the National Football League. For the last 2 seasons, the Eagles have been a part of his regression story. And guy had a point, 2023. Credit where credit's due on that one, Bill Barnwell. That point. Last year, you were wrong, though. Wrong.
The Giants fan has the Eagles regressing.
But I was wondering this year, given the fact they won the Super Bowl, regression is only natural unless you win the Super Bowl again. Like, unless you go like 15-2 and win the Super Bowl, that would be the only way you'd like progress. There's not many more ways it could go better for the Eagles this year. Hot take, I know. So when he came out with this story this year, I assumed that the Eagles would be a part of this. I figured it was copy-paste from probably 2022, 2023, like, oh, yeah, you know, they were in the Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl. They're going to fall apart. He did not have the Eagles on his 5 teams to regress. So I had already had in my head, you know, hey, man, hosted the midday show. I was like, all right, well, one day this week, I'm going to get a chance to, like, one day this week, next week, sometime leading up to the season, you're going to be able to just tear into a Bill Barnwell story saying the Eagles are going to regress. I had thought that was going to be a content plan at some point down the line. So I just want to issue that apology up front to Bill Barnwell that I was already ready. I was kind of like just foaming at the mouth for this story to come out. Like, we're going to get into this. He names 3 teams from the NFC that were prominent teams a season ago, all to regress. The Commanders, the Lions, and the Vikings. Who aren't you buying this season? And he also, of course, comes out with his teams to improve. And again, not a lot of room for the Eagles to improve. I'm not upset they're not in that list. Coming up, I'm curious. One team you're buying, one team you're selling in the National Football League coming into the 2025 season. We'll jump more into the Barnwell story. Plus, we got Gunn at 1 o'clock. This is the Midday Show. I'm Ray Dunn. He's Brendan Gunn. You're tuned in to 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
A job still up for grabs. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. The Eagles had quite the day of training camp practice today as it started with Jordan Mailata being ruled out with a concussion, and then it progressed with Drew Makuba entering the medical tent and Johnny Wilson being carted off. We'll keep you updated on those injuries as we get more information, but we're now just 16 days away from the Eagles season opener against the Dallas Cowboys on September 4th. One question looms large. Who's going to start opposite of Quinyon Mitchell at cornerback? Our very own Birds insider Andrew DeCecco says maybe Adoree Jackson's the best bet they have right now, but Jacorian Bennett could be better.
I believe that if the Eagles were to play a game tomorrow, it would be Adoree Jackson, just because he's less of a high variance type of player. You can plug him in and you know what you're going to get out of him, but I do believe that Jacorian Bennett is the best of the bunch.
A day after every single player on the Phillies had a hit and the team put together a season high in hits with 21, they look to keep the bats going tonight. The Phils run it back against the Seattle Mariners. Christopher Sanchez is on the mound for his pitches tonight at 6:45, and Zach Wheeler officially had the procedure done to remove the blood clot from his right shoulder yesterday. There's still no timetable for his return quite yet. This update was brought to you by Payday, packed with peanuts and filled with golden caramel. Payday is one hard-working candy bar, so grab one now to power you through your day. Payday Peanut Caramel Bar. Get to it. I'm Brendan Gunn, and you're listening to the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Andrew.
That's right. Closing on the 1 o'clock hour here on The Fanatic. You're tuned in to WPEN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. All right, mentioned it before the break. Bill Barnwell and the story that I was ready to rip. I was so prepared to come into this week for one day to just be like, yeah, I can't believe they're saying the Eagles are regressing. Or, Bill Barnwell maybe raises a good point in here. I was ready to just read it and have a strong reaction to it. He does these teams that are regressing across the NFL. He had done the last 2 seasons, picking the Eagles to regress both seasons. This year, the Eagles don't make his regression list. And I thank you, Bill Barnwell, and I apologize in advance for how angry I was going to be at you. I just knew it. I knew that at some point this week we were going to talk about it, or in the next coming weeks we were going to address it whenever that story came out. But 3 teams from the NFC that were very much in the picture last year end up on this regression list. Not surprising, considering you don't really pick bad teams to regress. Commanders, Lions, Vikings. Also on this list, the Chiefs. Which, all those one-score games, at some point, the magic has to wear off. It's not going to this year, but at some point, and we will all be seated and watching at the Chiefs' downfall. We will be there. I will be there. I can assure you, no matter what, I will be there to see it. Nobody else can pull off these one-score games with it. It's uncanny.
I was saying it all last year, dude. I was saying
I know.
it for the
You were saying they were
time.
making the playoffs. They were going to lose in the playoffs.
I was a little bit wrong, but at the end of it, I was big right because they stood no shot against an actual dominant team.
Whoa. Okay. Wow, look at you taking a shot at the entire AFC there. All right. So would they be the team you're not buying in 2025?
No, I'm not going there. I don't know if I'll put them there on the pedestal. I think the Bills and the Ravens should have a better shot of getting to the Super Bowl this time. 4 in a row from the AFC sounds crazy. So I think by your nature saying unless the Eagles win the Super Bowl, it's a regression. By that nature, too, it would be a regression. I want to see what the Lions are without their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator. Like last year, they were the favorites going into the season, and rightfully so. They were dominant. We saw how badly that affected the Eagles in 2023, not having their coordinators back. I need to see it before I can believe it. And how long can Jared Goff keep this up where he's playing at a high level before the postseason, throws 4 picks? Can he continue to do that without a Ben Johnson? Or, every time he's looked good, he's had Sean McVay calling the plays. And then he had the next bright genius, Ben Johnson. In between.
Very interesting. Goff, Herbert, guys who throw 4 interceptions in the playoffs, ranked high in these quarterbacks. I don't know. They got absolute geniuses calling them. Whatever. I'm gonna step back. I'm not even gonna start getting those lists. I don't want to do that. So me personally, the Vikings are the team I'm circling here. I think O'Connell's a good coach. J.J. McCarthy being expected to just take that team to where they were before seems like a little much for me. They figured it out for 1 year. I'd like to see that. The Vikings have been paper tigers a couple of times, I feel like, in recent memory. And I think that coming off of last season, I'm willing to wait before I crown the Vikings as, they'll just be right back there in the conversation again this year. And I do believe in his conversation about what could stop them, what could take them from actually, being competitive this season, as I try and pull up where the exact line was here. Their record in games decided by 7 points or fewer a year ago, 8-1. That's something that has to regress. They have the 4th toughest schedule in the NFL. Both those things, to me, scream regression on the Vikings side with the young quarterback that's trying to figure it out in this league. I'm not buying them in that way. The fact that the Vikings and the Lions end up on this list leads me to, I think, no one's surprised to tell you that in the North, we got a lot of love for Jordan Love this year. I'm thinking,
could it be the year they get it done?
I'm thinking for them, winning that division is not out of the question. I will say one team I'm also looking for that I could potentially be buying this year, and I forget who the caller was. There was a caller that was like, go look at the 49ers schedule. And when we looked at it, it was like, oh, wow, that stinks. And then we think about the Rams and the fact that they have the Stafford uncertainty. And what else? Like, am I worried about Jonathan Gannon? No. And the Cardinals? No. Seahawks? I can't necessarily say I'm totally in on what they've got going on right now. There's a chance that caller, I hope you recorded that audio when we talked to you because you might have a good call on that one. The 49ers, the more I look into it, I'm not buying them as like someone I think is going to come take the mantle from someone. But in terms of paper tigers that could put up a lot of wins and bow out of the postseason early, I could see that. Not buying them as a contender, but buying them as a team that could certainly get into the postseason given their schedule and given the fact they had terrible injury luck a season ago. So if we're going buying, selling there, selling on the Vikings, buying the Packers, and not to as big of an extent buying a better season from the 49ers.
It's fair.
Now, a lot of people are just waiting. I've been told that, Ray, you're unlistenable till 1 o'clock, and then when that guy takes over the mic, it's just riveting radio. A lot of people just loving this segment we have going on at 1 o'clock. It's the Gun at 1. What do you got for us today, Beat Gun?
Yeah, as we sit here poking holes in other teams, how they're going to regress, I've been thinking all week, and I've been guilty of this myself on my weekend shows stuff when I'm hosting. Have we reached the point in the summer where there's just nothing to talk about with the Eagles other than the negatives, and that's what we're focusing in on? Like, are we making a bigger deal out of this cornerback 2 spot? Are we making a bigger deal out of the edge rusher positions, who's going to be the guys behind a Jalix Hunt or a Nolan Smith, and the safety battle now, Drew Makuba, outside of injuries? To me, it's like we're sitting here, Jalen Hurts is throwing picks in practice. Maybe not us here, but people are out there talking about that. Like, have we reached the point in the summer where it's just like, all right, I'm going to focus in on this? Because frankly, what's there to talk about with the offense? A whole lot of nothing.
Johnny Wilson.
Yeah, exactly. Johnny Wilson going down. Defense. We can talk about that corner job because it's one of the only jobs that's out there, along with the safety position as well. Like, guess what? We still got a playmaker at defensive tackle. Still got a playmaker, all-pro level, linebacker. Still got 2 young cornerbacks out there that are going to be pushing for all-pro this year. Quinyon Mitchell was pretty much that last year. Like, you've got all-pro level caliber talent on all 3 levels on defense. This offense has 10 of 11 starters coming back, and the one guy that's going to be new starting is going to be Tyler Steen, who, got snaps with the starters last year. Like, we're sitting here August, 18th, 19th? I forget what day it even is. But there's nothing else to talk about besides the negative, and I think we've kind of got swallowed in it, where we're talking ourselves into these being major, major issues, and maybe everything is going to be just fine.
We got champagne problems.
Yes.
That's what we got. I mean, the Eagles have champagne problems. We're not talking about Daniel Jones versus Anthony Richardson for a quarterback battle. We're not talking about did Dillon Gabriel take a shot at Shedeur Sanders in an out-of-context clip. We're not talking about Terry McLaurin being out of practice. We're not talking about Micah Parsons posted on Twitter that he wants out. We're not talking about Trey Hendrickson maybe getting his wish to get out of here. We're not talking about all those things. This is a beautifully boring camp. It's been a beautifully boring camp for quite a while. Part of what we do here when it comes to conversation, like obviously you have to look at what is a concern. And to us, the concerns we have are so beautifully boring.
Yes.
That it shows you just how good this team is and how well run this organization is. That to me, it's not so much, are we being too negative about what we're looking at? The expectation is so high for what this team can do. And we did this conversation last week about your expectation for the Hurts Sirianni regime going forward, like what you expect. Would you be disappointed if they didn't get another ring? Like we did that conversation last week because it's almost a conversation out of respect. What will stop this team from becoming the next great team across the NFL? Like the next team that every year, like we just did with the Chiefs, their downfall will be there at some point. Not this year, but at some point it'll happen. What will stop you from being on that level? They've reached that level. So, yeah, the question is that second cornerback spot going to hurt you in a big moment? Not, do they even have a cornerback on the roster? It's not, is there enough depth at edge rusher? It's when we talk about surviving an entire season and battling towards February, do they have enough to sustain an entire season to put them in that problem? Some teams come into camp looking for someone to flash and looking for something to get excited about. This team comes into camp with, we need you not to be the reason we lose. We need you to step up and replace that person that got us the Lombardi last year. So it's champagne problems. I think we could absolutely take the look of, there are 30, and this is, I love when executives, coaches, and players fall back on this, when sometimes they actually do have real problems and they're not addressing them. I think in this case, it's the truth for the Eagles. 29, 30 teams would probably sign up for the problems we're talking about the Eagles have.
Yeah, you look around the league, like, the obvious problems with guys holding out of camp and contract disputes and stuff like that. Tell me a camp battle going on with this, I was going to say San Diego Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers. Like, you don't know what they're dealing with out there. So when I look at the Eagles, and it's like, okay, yeah, we live here, we're invested in it every single day. That problem is probably a lot worse outside of Philadelphia, somewhere else that you don't even know about right now.
Well, we talked about the bilotic concussion earlier. You mentioned the Chargers. What about Slater going down?
Exactly.
That's legitimate. So there are things, we are focused so much on what stops you from reaching the pinnacle, where other teams right now, if you're in Los Angeles right now, are you saying, hey, I would just love for Justin Herbert to show up in a postseason game.
Not throw 4 picks.
Yeah. Like, maybe that's the issue you're talking about right there. And I see JM in the YouTube chat right now. It was like, I remember them brushing aside secondary concerns in 2023. Okay, very fair. That was something that we talked about back in 2023. That was something that, like, we might have just looked past because, hey, that secondary had quite a season the year before. I do think cornerback 2 is a legitimate problem. I do think that's something you have to legitimately be concerned about.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Adoree Jackson's your starter.
100%.
So I'm not trying to blow that conversation off, and I think you're not. I think your talking point of this is not that we're ignoring it. It's actually that, are we driving too much on problems that are not as big as other teams' problems? And I would say, no, we're not, because
your goals and aspirations.
There are 31 other teams. There's like 6 or 7 of them that come into camp saying that they can go win a Super Bowl and actually having the ability to do it. There's 25 other teams that go into camp saying that they're going to win the Super Bowl, and by the time we hit late in the season, you're like, yeah, that team just doesn't have it. And maybe I've got too small a number there. Maybe there's another second tier of like 4 or 5 teams that if everything catches right, they might be able to do it. But to me, the Eagles are part of that group. You have to have so many things go your way and so many things go right for you for it to happen that we are absolutely right to focus on the issues that we are.
That's fair. That's fair.
I don't think we're being negative. I think we're just like, how do we do that again? I enjoyed broadcasting the parade.
I think the Bill Bardwell conversation, though, kind of puts it into perspective a little bit, too, where it's like, all right, well, these teams are going to take a step back. The Commanders in our own division are listed to take a step back. They got bigger issues right now than what we're dealing with, and those are the contenders to us right now. So at least NFC big picture, you could be in a worse spot for sure.
Yeah, you could. Coming up, I want to get back to the Phillies conversation we were having. Also, a little bit of an aside, because I got a wild text from my roommate that, like, it spawns the creative side of my brain here that I want to kind of tap into the fans here, just general sports fans on. You're Brendan Gunn. I'm Ray Dunn. We're taking you through middays, 97.5 The Fanatic. Hour here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I heard the promotion there for it. Brendan Gunn, you did a tremendous job voicing that promo for Caesars. And for the weekend.
They have it all.
Is to be had. Yeah, I was down there, man. I saw it with my own two eyes. I'm very excited because this weekend, Andrew DeCecco and Tim McManus. So our Birds insider, Andrew DeCecco, and ESPN's Tim McManus, Birds Roundtable live broadcast this Saturday from noon to 3 inside Caesars Sportsbook in Atlantic City. They're breaking down everything going on with the Birds. They'll have a preseason game to react to. They will have the 53-man roster to break down, and we will be within 2 weeks of the big opener against the Cowboys. Excited for the two of them to get a chance to break everything down. Look forward to listening to that on Saturday. And you can enjoy all Caesar Sportsbook has to offer: massive LED video screens, private man caves, and a full-service beer-yourself wall. If I didn't have to work Saturday night, that sounds like a pretty nice Saturday afternoon to me. You can click events at 97.5 The Fanatic for all the information. So that sounds like a great time. Looking forward to get a chance to hear it. Wish I could be down there for it to see them in action, break it down, the 53-man roster, because you know DeCecco is fired up for preseason game number 3 up there at MetLife. We'll have him on the show coming up later this week. Now, we've gotten into a lot of Phillies. Conversation of what's the buyback point for you? What do they have to show you over the next 6 weeks? I thought last night was emblematic of a few of the things that you would need to buy back into this team being a World Series contender in the wake of the Zach Wheeler news. And you can get in on that one at 610-632-0975. We've got a couple of texts on that. Let's get to those.
We got Joe in Boston checking in saying we still have enough pitching even without Zach. Look at the other playoff teams out there, not the best pitching in the league right now. Our offense or lack thereof will determine how far the team goes in the postseason.
My question to Joe would be, who's starting games 2 and 3 for you? Yes, I do think you have, to me, their rotation was Wheeler can set the table for you, and the edges, no matter what happens, game 1, game 2, I feel like you're still going to have the advantage pitching-wise. Now, I don't quite feel that way. And, Sanchez is going to match up with someone else's number 1, and if you're both trying to figure out what's going to happen in games 2 and 3, your edge has kind of been erased there. So, the offense does have to do their thing. But I need someone to emerge consistently alongside Sanchez, preferably 2 of them to emerge consistently alongside Sanchez. I'll go back to this. I bring this up all the time. The 2 times they've beat the Braves and 2 times they've gotten past the NLDS, you had the advantage in Game 3 with the starter. Aaron Nola was better than whoever was on the other side for the Braves that day. That's been the thing that's gotten you to the NLCS. That's still what I'm looking for in the postseason. That's still what I need from this team. So I understand what Joe's saying, but I need to feel a lot better about the pitching coming down the stretch without Zach Wheeler as the starter for this Phillies team. What else we got?
We got Tim in Delaware checking in, and he says, my biggest concern is the lack of consistency on offense. My concerns are not settled with 1 game or even a week of strong offense. I don't need 12 hits or 12 runs and 21 hits every single night, but I need them to be more consistent with their capabilities if we truly want to make a World Series run.
And that's why we didn't buy back last night. We just said it was emblematic of what we need to see over the next 6 weeks. I appreciate you, Tim. We're arguing the same side of that argument.
We also got Michael in Fort Worth checking in on that Alvarado conversation. I would boo Alvarado every time he comes out. He's worthless to us now.
All right. That's the way people feel. I can't help the way you feel. I don't think he's worthless considering you still have 6 weeks of playoff positioning to get into, and he's going to be a part of that roster. Yes, I am disappointed he's not going to be in the postseason. Yes, I'm disappointed in that he's been, was not in there for 80 games this year. I'm very disappointed in him. And if he has not realized his mistake yet, that's on him. That really is. And maybe we'll have a conversation about not having him here next season. But to me, I need him to produce for you for the next 6 weeks. I need that. Because ultimately, they need arms to get them through the season. Now more than ever, because I think they're, you're not penciling a guy that goes 6-7 innings every 5th time through the rotation. I need him to produce for them. He's certainly hurt his value for this team and the fact he's not in the postseason, but I need him.
Also got Karate Mark checking in saying, what do you need the rest of the way? That's a great question. But the real question of tonight's Phillies game is, will Ray Dunn be there in his Hogwarts robe waving his wand for Harry Potter night?
I will not be there. I did not know it was Harry Potter night. That sounds like an ish call. Incredible right there. No,
Karate Mark, baby.
I will not be there tonight. Our old buddy Tom, I believe, is going tonight because I was been trying to catch up with our buddy Tom Alvarado. Give me the big stiff arm. Like, nah, I'm actually going to the Phillies game. Sick invite, bro. Just like your wedding.
Come on, man. You were there. Yeah,
I was time. I know. It was a great time. Great wedding. I just like making fun. Also, a little bit of rage bait for him to see if he's tapped in. I mentioned this for my roommate, and this is a fun thing I want you to think about coming up through the break. We'll get into it in the next segment. I got a text. 3:25 this morning from my roommate. Said hours, and it was a link to Cam Newton's 2015 MVP season highlights. Why he's watching at 3:30 in the morning, beyond me. But it's one of those seasons, it's one of those players, John Wall retiring today, that you could go down the wormhole of highlights for hours. Like, you could watch Cam Newton highlights, you could watch John Wall highlights. I want to know, the one athlete for you, it doesn't have to be Philadelphia-based, that you could catch yourself watching highlights of for hours on end. There's one in baseball that I find myself doing this consistently. And there's a few others that I probably would bring up in the realm of general sports. So we'll get to that coming up. He's Brendan Gunn. I'm Ray Dunn. Take you through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Who's going to start at cornerback? I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. The Eagles had quite the day of practice today at training camp. It started with Jordan Mailata being rolled out today with a concussion, and then it progressed with Drew Makuba entering the medical tent after he came up lame on a rep earlier, and then Johnny Wilson was also carted off. So we'll keep you updated on those injuries as we get more information. But we're now just 16 days away from the Eagles season opener against the Cowboys on September 4th. But one question looms large: who's going to start opposite of Quinyon Mitchell at cornerback? Our very own Birds insider Andrew DeCecco says maybe that could be a Dory Jackson, but Jacorian Bennett might be the better option.
I believe that if the Eagles were to play a game tomorrow, it would be a Dory Jackson, just because he's less of a high variance type of player. You can plug him in and you know what you're going to get out of him, but I do believe that Jacorian Bennett is the best of the bunch.
A day after every single player on the Phillies had a hit last night as the team put together a season high in hits with 21 last night. They look to keep the bats going tonight. The Phils run it back against the Seattle Mariners. Christopher Sanchez is on the mound. First pitch is at 6:45. And Zach Wheeler officially had a procedure to remove the blood clot in his right shoulder yesterday. There's still no timetable for his return. This update was brought to you by Aleve. Traffic and body pain can slow you down, but don't let pain stop you. With just one pill, Aleve alleviates up to 12 hours of pain relief so you can keep moving. Use as directed. I'm Brendan Gunn, and you're listening to the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Time to think on this one, B-Gun. I'm Ray Dunn taking you through the show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I told you, my roommate, he's a interesting fella. You know? Nice guy. Big fan of Sam. Obviously, still live with the guy. Text at 3:25 in the morning. He's watching Cam Newton MVP season highlights. Like, 3:25 in the morning. Dude, you have a job. Like, you are an adult. Go to bed. Like, what are we doing here? Get some sleep. Cam Newton's great, but it's 3:25. You're a 24-year-old man.
3:25 in the morning.
Yeah. Go to bed. Go to work. But he's watching Cam Newton highlights. And I'm curious, the athlete that you can just sit there and watch hours of highlights.
Scotty Reynolds. I'll go back and toss that on each and every time I have a couple of drinks. I'll watch that for hours. Scotty Reynolds, 2,000-point score for Villanova. The Cats, that Elite Eight, not buzzer beater, but nearly buzzer beater. You know what that's like, right?
You don't. You don't. You graduate. Where'd you graduate from? Villanova? Villanova accept you?
It didn't apply.
Self-awareness is key.
Scotty Reynolds all the time. As far as pros, obviously, you got the Brian Dawkins. We'll go watch that.
Yeah.
Embiid's a low-key fun one to watch,
It's
too.
a very fun one to watch.
Embiid, a lot of people aren't going to want to hear that right now, but Embiid's a great one to watch. As far as non-Philadelphia athletes, I liked watching Cam Chancellor hits for a long time when he would lay people out.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, obviously the game's kind of moved on from that kind of football. Troy Polamalu was also awesome.
Big fan of hard-hitting safeties. It's really where this is coming down to. Like, that's your wheelhouse.
I think so.
You watched that Crumpler video one too many times, I'm sure.
I think when it comes to football highlights, I think I'd rather watch
defense instead of offense. Interesting. So I was going through this. I think I could sit down and watch KD highlights for like ever. Just watching him score all those things and just dominate. From a Philadelphia perspective, I believe it's the Nothing If Not Inconsistent YouTube page that has compiled almost all of Ryan Howard's career home runs.
Oh, I could watch that.
Yeah. No, I could sit down, crack one open, and just like, wow, just watching this power display. Someday going back and watching Kyle Schwarber just absolutely annihilate baseballs will also be a lot of fun. But I'm curious, like, for people out there, and we're getting some of the YouTube chat. I'm seeing Messi, Randall, like the athlete that you could sit back and watch highlights of for just hours upon.
Now, we're getting a bunch on the text line, and I think you can guess this one. College player. Probably the biggest highlight reel of all time.
Is it the legendary Tavon Austin?
It is.
Yeah. I was going to say that one has to be at the top of people's list. Tavon Austin. Like when I was going through this, I was legitimately like, yeah, Tavon Austin's like probably the pick number one in this entire thing. Another name for college that I don't know if we've got on the text line yet. Johnny Manziel.
Oh, Johnny Manziel was
Johnny
awesome.
football highlights go crazy at any time.
We got somebody saying Bo Jackson. We also got somebody saying I'd watch any college highlight of a young Ray Dunn. People don't forget Ozempic Andy Dalton.
I'm so concerned as to who sent that text in, and I'm just gonna walk right past that one. I'm so worried. Keep moving.
Let's see what else we got.
A lot of highlights. A lot of good times.
Ron Woodson, Earl Campbell, Valentino Rossi.
We're getting some more on the YouTube here, too. Reggie Bush, Penn State Saquon, Eric Lindros. And my favorite Reggie Bush highlight was thanks to Sheldon Brown. See that one?
I just bought that Sports Illustrated with him on the cover laying people out. And in my mind, I always thought it was a cool cover. I didn't realize it was like the concussion edition and big hits, like the turning point.
Yes.
I am still hanging it up on my wall framed, but like.
So that's interesting with the move things. And now we've bored on going totally off the rails here, but I'll be brief on this one. I'm trying to figure out the appropriate level for a grown man to have sports decor versus decor that is non-sports related. Because I think about, like, when you're younger, it's just like sports, to give off a little bit of an air of, like, I've grown. I'm a little bit more than just some sports crazed lunatic teenager. Like, where the line is on sports.
See, the line is literally above the ground or not. Like my basement, when I can get a house in, I don't know.
Yeah, 2 decades. Yeah, I got you.
It's gonna
I'm
be
right there. I'm on that type
It's gonna be all sports. Like that's what it's gonna be.
Got it.
Upstairs, once you become married, I guess. Once you get married, become married.
That's a thing for you. That's not a problem.
I try to look around like at some adult's house. Now I'm an adult. I'm 31, but I don't consider myself an adult. When I go into somebody,
don't worry.
When I go to somebody else's house and I don't see sports things, I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess you got to get there. And then you go to the basement and they got all the cool stuff. I think that's the line.
Well, that's the thing. I also don't want to trash a lot of things I have. So, like, I have to hold on to it, but it becomes a storage issue.
Oh,
like, I can't keep storing all this sports stuff for my eventual basement.
At my dad's house, I got boxes of stuff from, like, 07, the run. They used to have the Daily News where they'd send you a poster every time. I have so many things that I hope don't get destroyed because they need to end up in a basement at some point.
Right. And that's exactly. Right now I'm holding on to one of our great listeners, and I forget who it was, and I appreciate you so much, and I'm so sorry that I forgot who this was. Showed up to, I think it was a Rally House broadcast where I was actually back here and handed off a newspaper to the show after the Eagles won the Super Bowl, because my brother's been brother collects that type, like he has all that type of stuff, and if you ever saw the basement of my parents, like the home I grew up in, you would be astounded by the collection of memorabilia stuff that we have down there. And I have not yet made the handoff. And you say, how have you not done that? That was February. It's been 6 months. You're right. But it survived the move. But I'm looking at it, staring at it, like, I can't ruin this newspaper. I have to get this to my brother at some point. But it's sitting right now on a stack of sports things that I'm like, I just can't justify.
The life of Ray Dunn, so busy.
Putting stuff up around here. I do have
Ray Dunny.
A beautiful picture of Citizens Bank Park before Game 3 of the 08 World Series. You could see on the Jumbotron Taylor Swift doing the anthem, and it's the players lined up and the whole thing. That's going on the wall. That's taken care of. But I'm worried how much more sports decor before it's like, all right, does a man, like a grown man, live here, or does a sports crazed lunatic teenager live here? Like, I'm trying to find that line right now in my life.
Know what I have? I have every single front page of the Daily Times from 2023 thinking they were going to win this Super Bowl, and I was going to put together a complete collage of every single week. Instead, I just have to remember that stupid, stinking collapse. And last year, I tried to do it again. Guess what? They played on a Friday night in Brazil, and they didn't have the normal edition where it would have the Eagles the next day because it was the weekend. So it didn't work out the year they actually won.
I'm sorry. Maybe they'll go back-to-back this year. Keep collecting them. We got some people with, Jason Williams highlights. That's a good one. Barry Sanders. YouTube chat's going good with this right now.
Yeah, we got Ken Griffey on the text line.
Ooh, another really good one.
Randy Moss, but only at Marshall.
Oh, I mean, yeah, but I feel
obviously extended as well.
So you put on the Randy Moss Marshall highlights video, and then YouTube immediately will suggest pretty much the rest of his career, and that's an hour of your life that you're never getting back that you spent very wisely.
Yeah, we also got Tiger Woods, Adrian Peterson.
Like that? Tiger, yeah. The Scheffler shot from over the weekend, by the way. I understand, people look at me. I'm wearing golf shirts back-to-back days. I think people are shocked by that just because it's not really my attire all the time nor my sport, but that was insane. I don't know if you saw that one.
Oh, that was incredible. Now, I was kind of rubbed the wrong way by Scotty with his comments. So we're not going back to that. But
I'm not doing this.
Great shot nonetheless.
Yeah. I'm rooting for him, by the way. Now, I'm full in on the Scotty experience. Following that.
I don't know if I've ever gone back and watched golf highlights where it's consecutive 10 minutes in a row.
What do you set golf highlights to, music-wise?
Yeah, do you just
I'm just serious. We go in a real strong hip hop beat behind a little chip in for birdie.
It's like Beethoven.
Just curious. I have never gone back, like you said, and watched. So I'm curious if we got trophies going in the background when you're watching a guy just oh wow, that's a nice tee shot right there.
It's gonna be like sports film in high school, and you're like, oh, we're playing this team today. It's just dead silence because you can't watch golf highlights with music underneath it, right? Like imagine Kendrick Lamar humble, going crazy.
I mean that sounds like a genre of highlights that feels untapped or that I don't know about that I actually would be a huge fan of.
Could work out.
I think
actually.
we might actually have to look into that.
Let's get rich.
We'll table that one.
We can get those basements.
Hey, man, digital content. That's what we're looking for. More digital. We got it right there. We just brought up a great digital idea. I'll go into Dylan's office at the break, and we'll break that one down for you. Coming up, I mentioned this earlier in the show, Trey Turner, where we're at with Turner specifically. Because we have neglected maybe to mention at a larger conversation, and maybe it's just too positive and not enough people want to buy into it, about his defense, and also about the production level this year. Where are we with the Trey Turner experience as a fan base? Also, what are you looking for tonight from the Phils as they play the Mariners again? He's Brandon Gunn. I'm Ray Dunn. Take you through middays, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Ricky
I love this. I love you bring up Trey Turner. And Brendan Gunn, if you bring up Trey Turner, it's basically just blood in the water for a bunch of sharks for our YouTube chat. It's like basically letting out a pack of just rabid dogs.
They're not happy with Trey Turner?
No, it's a way that they all attack one another. It's like carnage in the YouTube chat. You see Trey Turner's name you mentioned on the air, and all of a sudden these people that have been friends and talking about whatever's going on in their lives for 4 hours, really 8 hours at a time together, all of a sudden it's like a bitter rivalry between the pro-Trey and the anti-Trey crew. It is a wonderful, wonderful experience from a guy that's just sitting back and watching it play out there on the YouTube chat. We're going to get to Trey Turner in just a second. He's Brendan Gunn. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through the midday show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. And B. Gunn, you're working double today. You got double duty.
I know. Bill's trying to steal me early.
Yeah, so Bill, and, he is who he is. Whatever. Bill's in there. One, finally understands how loud that talkback is. And by the way, now that I have the platform to do this, whichever one of you producers that just can't hear in the talkback and dials up the preview all the way to the top because for some reason you might be deaf, stop. I'm begging you. Every producer that sat in there knows that their ears are absolutely crushed every time someone hits the talk to producer button here in the studio. It sounds like you're screaming at them and you're not even talking that loud.
And I promise you it's not me. I promise you I didn't turn it up.
Your psychopath tendency is the freezing cold studio.
Oh,
that's what your
best.
problem is. That's what problem I have with you mostly in the producer booth.
Dude, you're a psycho. I come in here on weekdays when it's 100 degrees in the middle of July. God forbid I turn the air down.
You turn it to like 40. You turn it as low as it goes.
Ray comes in with this perk on.
The energy bill inside of this place is only because of you. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're driving up costs here with your, it has to be 40 degrees in my producer studio.
That's how it feels good. That's how you get out there, dude. That's why I'm anti-dome. It needs to be freezing out there at all times.
Whatever.
Ray's pro-dome.
I'm going to move right past that. So, yes, the talkback thing, whoever that is doing that. But also, Bill's in there with you, just like, all right, so I need, this. Like, you're not trying to prep the end of this show. Like, you're not trying to get something done here. Ricky, no respect, just walks in here, puts his stuff down as if no show's going on right now. He's telling me I'm number one right now as he walks out of the studio.
Putting their feet up all on your couch.
So coming up at 2, unfiltered.
It's like Rick James.
It's just ridiculous. It's kind of obscene what they're doing to me right now. I don't appreciate it at all. Did he just tell you you're number one too?
He said I'm helping you.
He said that
he's in disbelief.
That's weak.
He told me that I'm number one. All right, getting to Trey Turner here. And JM is saying I called them out in the YouTube chat about the Trey Turner thing. I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying it's the truth. You say Trey Turner's name, all of a sudden people get fired up in that chat. And I love it. And I think people get fired up across the city when we talk about Turner. But we have to acknowledge the improved defense, right? Like, we can't sit here and just pretend like we haven't seen it get better throughout this entire season. Analytically speaking, if you want to go defensive metrics, he's gotten tremendously better over the season. I don't know how it's played out that way. And I will remember my good buddy, Tim Kelly, usually joins the morning show like once every 2 weeks or so, covers the team for Ron Patterson. He had asked Dave Dombrowski last year at the end of the season presser that went on for 2 weeks. That press conference was like an hour long. And rightfully so. They lost to the Mets. The season was over. You got Thompson and you got Dombrowski. You have to ask the questions. He asked Dombrowski about Turner's defense at short. And Dombrowski had said that for some reason they believed that it was going to get better with age. And I remember laughing at that at the moment. Like, it's going to get better with age? Like, what shortstop is going to improve into his 30s defensively? I don't know what he's done. He said that working with Bobby Dickerson, that they're working on just catching the ball in a better spot, and it really clears up everything for him. It also looks like he's changed maybe the angle in which he's throwing with his arm across the diamond. Whatever he's done, props to Trey Turner on that, because the defense has gotten better. And while we're talking just about the player that he is, offensively, it was a slow July there for him. He's picked it up in August since. I understand he had the weird numbers without having a home run at CBP until last night. But when you look at his numbers across the board, another season for him hitting 295, 351 on base. The slug they've wanted to sacrifice to keep that average up and for him to be on base. And yeah, maybe I would love a little bit more slug from him, but I also have other right-handed bats that I'd like to see that from. By and large, they're pretty good for you. And, like, I know I throw out his name, people are getting upset. Since, obviously that August of 2023, he's got a 302 average with the Phillies, 352 on base, 490 slug. He's hit 50 home runs, that 292 games with 161 runs batted in. 841 OPS. It was a tough first few months in Philly. You've kind of gotten the player that you were expected to pay for, and a lot of people will always throw out, well, what a bad contract, what a terrible contract, and all this. They said, yeah, by the end of this contract, it's not going to be great, and if they don't win with him, you're going to feel like you didn't get the payoff of what you were trying to get. But I go back to that offseason, and the guys that were available, Xander Bogaerts, Dansby Swanson, Carlos Correa, on top of Trey Turner. Go look at the numbers of those shortstops that were available in the 2022 offseason, leading into the 2023 season. Would you rather have any of those other guys? Like, it's funny because we'll do he'll go through a tough stretch. Maybe, I don't know if it was Thursday after that game Thursday night in Washington where a couple of sinkers in on the hands that I don't know why he's swinging at. And you're just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, need you. And someone will comment inevitably, worst contract in baseball, terrible contract. I can't believe they gave him that contract. And if you go to like any other fan base on Twitter or Reddit or just follow along with commentary about other teams, they'll be saying that about the Bogaerts contract. People will be saying about Correa. People will be saying that about, since that time, Turner kind of wins out in a lot of statistical categories of that group. OPS-wise, it's not even close. How far ahead he is of some of these guys. If you want to use WAR, Dansby Swanson and his defense will win that one out for you over those guys, but Turner will be second across the board with that. I mean, yes, he needs to do it in the postseason. We need to see him do it in the postseason. But are we a little too polarized on a guy that is kind of produced for you? And also, have we not given the guy enough credit for the fact that defense has improved?
Dude, is it just like that? It has to be that first 3-4 months and people don't want to get over it. Since then, the guy has put together an all-star season. He's gone out there and he's the National League leader in hits. And all we can harken back on is he sucked the first 2.5 months he was here and he always goes cold in the postseason. The guy's been an all-star. The one year that he didn't make the all-star game outside that first year was this year. And guess what? He got robbed. He was leading the National League in hits then. He's even leading it by even more now. I think it was up to 7 at one point more hits than anybody else. The guy is out there. And if the guy can go out there right this year and finally perform in the postseason, I think that's when it'll be put to rest, that polarizing nature of the conversation of Trey Turner. But until he goes out there and does it in the postseason, I don't know if it's ever going to change. And I don't know if that's fair.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to do it in the postseason, like if he doesn't show up for the postseason, like I understand the qualms you have with the guy. And we everything we do is leading up to, trying to win a World Series. But just for this season, in May, we were having the conversations. Who's the best shortstop on this roster from a defensive standpoint? Should they be flipping the second baseman and the shortstop? Should the shortstop be moving to the outfield to get Edmundo Sosa some more time? Like, those were conversations that happened within this city about what they should do at shortstop. He's improved defensively. And, again, all the other options you had there. Stott's a Gold Glove winning second baseman. Could he do it at short? Potentially. Do I want to mess up Gold Glove level defensive play at second base to figure that out? Also, he hasn't been an everyday guy. So, like, that world. Imagine that world where in the middle of the season they actually had done that. Probably have a platoon at short. And what? Otto Kemp, second base? Like,
would have been bad.
Yeah. It's like, now if you told me they would somehow got Ketel Marte in here at second base because he did that, well, then maybe we changed it. But seriously, like, they've kind of figured it out for what they needed to be, and he's figured it out to be where he needed to be defensively for them at short. even though we had all those questions about him and even though it wasn't trending that way for a long time. And I think there's credit to be had for that. There's also credit to be had for just the fact that he's been a productive offensive player. And I also need him to keep it up. My fantasy team needs it, all right? We're fighting for postseason this week, all right, Trey? I need you. I need you to figure this out. I need you to keep this going. Just like I asked earlier in this show, in a different world, I need Romano to figure it out. Please. I am so sick of... Phillies Tailgate tweeted this out, and I've got it sent to me by my buddy Ari, by our own Brandon Dutz, by a couple of other friends here. Home runs allowed this season. Christopher Sanchez, 150 and 2/3 innings pitched, 10 home runs. Jordan Romano, 9 home runs allowed in 41 and 2/3. I've seen the tweet, guys. I don't need anyone more in my life to send me the tweet. I understand that Romano's been bad. All right? I got it.
Bad? That's putting it lightly, Ray. It is.
God, you are so tricky. The guy's name comes up, and I feel like you just stopped breathing. You see red. I'm concerned about you.
Bad does not put it into words. The guy has had a carried 7+ ERA since damn near April, since March. This guy is putting together one of the worst seasons I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Okay.
And I've been alive for this team not going to the postseason for 10 years in a row.
It's bad. It's very, very bad.
There you go. Very bad.
Yes.
Not just bad. Very bad.
I'm upset. He canceled the Revival Tour, all right? The Romano Revival Tour was so real there for a moment till it wasn't. We were living there. 2 months.
I remember the tweets for the 2.5-week period where it's Kepler got a home run here or there. He was the second guy to reach double-digit home runs. It was see, Dombrowski actually didn't have a bad offseason. Romano's coming around. Max Kepler's coming around. And he traded for Jesus Luzardo.
Yeah.
We lived 10 lives since then.
I feel like I've lived a lot of lives since the beginning of this baseball season. A lot of lives since the beginning of this baseball season.
Got somebody checking in on the text line saying, has anybody ever told Ray that when he gets worked up, he sounds like Jerry Seinfeld?
My entire life, man. My entire life. I can't help it, all right? I wish that this was something that predated me watching Seinfeld. I remember someone texted in that, of course, Mike goes, but this guy is a producer because Mike loves Seinfeld. This guy sounds just like Seinfeld. That was a legitimate text we received. And I was like, before I even watched Seinfeld, people were like, wow, you know who you sound like? But I was like, the worst is when someone was like, you sound like the guy from the B movie. I was like,
the B movie?
That's how you know Jerry Seinfeld, the B movie? Not the highest rated show over 9 seasons? Yes, that's what I sound like. I can't control it. If I went somewhere else, it wouldn't be the way I authentically deliver it. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to steal Seinfeld's flow. He's a Mets fan. Brandon Gunn, this is fun. You want to do more of this?
Let's do it all week.
You got 4 more hours. So Unfiltered's coming up next. Ricky and Bill are trying to kick the crap out of me probably when they walk in here. They're coming up at 2 o'clock. As for me, I'm Ray Dunn. Talk to you again real soon right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.